I'd like to take this opportunity to explain why I'm here and you're there. I was with somebody on last Thursday that eventually got tested for COVID. Those test results should be in sometime today. In an abundance of caution, I decided to quarantine myself in my garage. So I would like to ask Mr. Campy if it's impossible for me to run the meeting. It's probably not impossible, but it would be uncomfortable for me to run the meeting in this form. So if Mr. Campy would actually run the meeting, since our co-chair is not with us, I would appreciate that.
Commissioner Sarah Woods, my recommendation from a procedural standpoint is that instead of requesting it, that you nominate Commissioner Campy to be the chair pro tem for the meeting, and then we would take a vote. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Campy to be the pro tem chair for this meeting.
Second.
We have a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Commissioner Jenkins. I was not aware that that was going to take place this morning, but I appreciate your confidence. The reason that we would have to do something like that is that you heard Commissioner Jenkins' explanation on why he's going to be Zoom participating in this meeting from with the Zoom technology. Traditionally, that role of running the meeting would go to our vice chair. In this particular case, it's Commissioner Hetherington, who is out of the state with her family and wasn't able to attend. And where she is, the reason she's not Zooming with us is where she is does not have a consistent Wi-Fi connection for her to participate. So I can't remember, I mean, Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Hurd have been here much longer than I can't remember a time when the chair or the vice chair, for whatever the rationale, wasn't available. So that's why we have this unique set of circumstances. So with that, let's jump. We have a room of a lot of people that are interested in what we're going to be discussing today. So we'll jump right into it. I will call the June 16th, 2020 Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. We are going to be fortunate enough this morning to have our invocation by Pastor David Alpers from the Redeemer Lutheran Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would all please stand. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to do this. Heavenly Father, we're just so appreciative of this day and the blessings of this day and this beautiful area that we live in called Martin County. We just pray for our commissioners, whether they be near or far, that as they do the work of the county, they keep you in mind, Lord. Give them wisdom, give them guidance. We pray for Commissioner Jenkins that he does not have the COVID, and we also pray for the person that got tested, that that person would not have anything and that they can get up and around and be around family and friends once again. Lord, as we discuss this important issue about masks, no masks, and how do we distance and all those kind of things, help us remember one thing, to love our neighbor as ourselves, that if my neighbor desires me to wear a mask, I'm going to wear a mask because that's the best thing to do for my neighbor. Lord, we just pray for your guidance and your wisdom and the comments that are made would all point us in a direction of seeking your will and the good purposes for our neighbors. Bless this meeting. In Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor, very much. We're going to have two presets. They are our public comment presets. One will be momentarily, we call it our 9:05, and the next one will be our 5:05, end of the meeting comment. Now, if we don't make it to 5:05, we will have it at the end of our agenda items. We have two additional items. Consent agenda number 13, adopt a proclamation to be presented at the July 14th, 2020 meeting. And then the next one is departmental number 5, presentation to the board on the flooding, which resulted in the recent extreme rainfall. There are no consent polls.
Mr. Chair, move approval of the agenda.
Thank you very much. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept the agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0. That will be our number for the day, with obviously Commissioner Heatherington being absent. Public comment. We have several. We have, some of you are here for the first time. We allow 3 minutes for public comment. At the, Ms. Christie, you're not doing the 2-minute and 45-second thing, are you?
No, I don't have
Yeah.
that ability.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Ms. Christie will be giving us our time. Since there's a lot of people here and we have a lot on the agenda, if you could stick to your 3 minutes, Ms. Christie will remind you when the 3 minutes are up. It's not meant for us to be rude or to cut you off. It's just that we have many people that would like to address us. We have 2 microphones up here in the front of the room on stands. If someone's at the first one, we have a gentleman from our staff who is here to sanitize them in between uses. So if someone's using the one on the left and you're next, please come to the one on the right, and we'll just alter back and forth. That'll also speed the process up. Our first request to speak form is Dr. Mary. Oh, Ms. Christie, do you want to do your comments on public comment
I
during
can,
campaign?
yes, sir. So we are currently in what we refer to as an election season. We do have county commissioners that are in active campaign for re-election. Public comment is to address the Board of County Commissioners as a whole. We do not allow partisan politicking, which is defined as advocating the election or defeat of a particular candidate. Use of words, dates, signs, props, and/or wearing apparel or a nameplate that convey a message expressing advocacy for a person or group of persons is also not allowed. Thank you for your cooperation, and you've got 3 minutes, as Commissioner Campy stated.
Thank you very much. Our first request to speak form is Dr. Marianne Cabrera.
Dr. Carrera is with the Health Department. She's actually, I believe, the medical director.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
Come forward.
Good morning.
Alderman,
Thank
good
you for
morning.
the opportunity to speak today. Today I come not only representing the Health Department, but as a public health physician as well. I am very worried with the increase of cases in Martin County and the state of Florida as a whole. With the lack of vaccines, we only have certain things to decrease the spread and to be able to return to some type of normalcy. This is obviously what we said in so many opportunities: social distancing, washing your hands, but most of all, the way we can protect ourselves, our loved ones, and our community is by wearing a mask. That is all my comments. Thank you so much.
thank you very much, and thank you very much for all that you're doing for us. Our next request to speak form is a well-known name, Ms. Karen Ripper from the Council on Aging in Martin County.
Good morning, Commissioners
Morning.
and staff. I would like to take again, my name is Karen Ripper, the President and CEO of the Council on Aging of Martin County at the Kane Center. We are the lead agency for seniors in Martin County as designated by the Area Agency on Aging. I would like to take a moment to talk about the continued threat of COVID-19, particularly for our seniors. Since Governor DeSantis' reopening plan began in May, we have seen a steady increase in COVID cases in Martin County and throughout the state. It is well documented that those over the age of 65 are most at risk for serious and deadly effects from this disease. That is clear by looking at the statistics of Martin County. While those aged 65 and over are only 12% of confirmed cases, 78% of those who have lost their lives to this disease are over age 65. And so far, every member of our community who has died is over the age of 50. Most of the seniors we encounter through our work at the council are taking these kinds of statistics very seriously. But taking COVID-19 seriously also means isolation. It means only leaving your house when absolutely necessary. It means no visits with friends and family. It means being in your assisted living facility, not even able to see your friends or family for now over 3 months. No dinners out, no trips to the Kane Center for fitness classes or Sunday afternoon concerts. And many of our clients don't know how to use the technology that the rest of us depend on to stay connected, like FaceTime and Zoom. Isolation and loneliness lead to their own debilitating diseases, depression, dementia, weight loss, falls, and suicidal thoughts, to name a few. Long story short, our seniors need to be able to join the rest of us in slowly going back to regular life. We resumed fitness classes on a limited basis at the Kane Center this week, and our phone was ringing off the hook with people eager to reserve their spot. We are slowly welcoming members back to our adult day club, and their families have already seen improvement in our members' overall well-being. But with every activity we resume, we have developed strict health and safety precautions and keeping our fingers crossed. It is very difficult for the most vulnerable among us to venture out when so many people are not taking precautions that are proven to be effective for curbing the spread of this deadly disease. Simple things like wearing a mask, maintaining social distancing, and staying home when you don't feel well can make all the difference. A young person may be willing to roll the dice on catching COVID-19 because he or she may see the risk factors for them as being low. But imagine if that person is asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, highly contagious, and is a server in a restaurant not wearing a mask while serving a person who is 80 years old with COPD and diabetes. That contact could be a death sentence. I ask the Commission to please take more impactful steps to encourage people to wear masks and maintain social distancing while out in public. So far, our community has been spared the worst of this pandemic, so it is easy for us to become complacent. But the spike in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths in the last 2 weeks shows us that we are not out of the woods yet. If we take precautions now, we can ensure that our economy can continue to reopen instead of shutting it down again, but not at the expense of people's lives. Thank you for hearing me out, and thank you for all your support for our seniors.
Thank you very much. Our next request to speak form is Ms. Gail Singer. Ms. Singer, good morning and welcome.
Hello, my name is Gail Singer. I live at 8039 Southeast Camellia Drive in Hobe Sound. That's in Point Santa Gardens. Before the Oaks development, we didn't have as many issues with flooding, but since they raised the land, it was all woods before, and now it's all, it's raised, and so we've been getting a lot of flooding. Even 6-7 inches of rain, we're getting flooding on my whole front yard, side yard, and backyard, as much as 2 feet of water. And it's not clean water, it's septic tank overflow, algae, disgusting, and this last time was in my house, and I was very upset about it. I've been doing what I can, but they're not maintaining the ponds as I feel they should be, and so the pond that's directly behind 6243 Orange Blossom Trail is not being drained properly, which is causing it to overflow. And that's why I think the problem is really at my end. I don't know that the whole development is having an issue, but I know that my house got water. I had about half an inch, 3/4 of an inch in my bedroom. I had a little bit in the living room. I had it all the way in the garage, and I'm very upset about it because I don't, it's all I've got is to retire and live out the rest of my life in this home. And I just would like, something to be done, even if it's just a few houses. I'd like to see something done to correct the problem so that the ponds drain properly to the big pond, which is off of Point Santa Lane. And they're not draining right, and that's why I'm, with the Oaks being upraised and more homes being built in Point Santa Gardens in the new section, it is really creating an issue on my end. So I just wanted to see what could be done about this issue. That's it.
Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you very much. May I ask you a question? During the storm event, did you contact the county and register like what we call a request for service?
Yes.
We're going to have our staff review through those. Sometimes like this, and there's plenty of people in the room that are from areas south of you.
Right.
That had 3 feet of water in their
Right.
homes, and we're going to hear from them.
Right.
Our staff is using this opportunity to review those areas of concern. I happen to work with a gentleman that lives in your neighborhood, and
What's his name?
I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay.
But he's been very concerned and on top of me like white on rice all day long. It's actually very annoying. But he shared your concern. He actually said that some of his neighbors would be coming this morning. So We're going to use this opportunity to review our situation, but to be perfectly honest with you, we're going to start from the most catastrophic and work our way down. I've had neighbors that said, well, there was standing water in my street. Well, part of our system, especially with the historic rainfall that we had, and later today, obviously you're not going to, I hope you spend the whole day with us, but if you don't, watch today. We do have an agenda item that's going to discuss how our system works, why, a pump might be located in your neighborhood in the evening, run for 6 hours, and then someone comes and shuts it off. Because what we found is that it's like a leapfrogging approach. If we drain your neighborhood into another area, it could potentially be flooding someone next door. So there's a process in place, and this level of rain gives us, our staff, an opportunity to really look and see what do we need to improve.
Well, even if I have 6 inches, 7 inches of rain,
Oh, no, we're
it's
gonna give you
in
that.
my yard and it's getting very close to the house.
And I'm not diminishing your
Yeah,
concerns.
right.
What I'm saying is that all of these issues will be addressed. I tell everyone, drainage and paving of roads are the two things I hear the most of all the time. So we're going to use this opportunity to address it
Okay.
and then notify you. I just wanted to make sure that you were on the list because that's what they're going to work from.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next request to speak form is Miss Pat Houston. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Pat Houston, 715 Southeast Hibiscus Avenue, but I'm here on behalf of the early...
Can you lift, pull the microphone up? They're sort of sensitive. You have to have it aimed. There you go. You're a little taller. So.
Okay. I'm here on behalf of the Early Learning Coalition. We have a grant that we do over the summer, the VPK Completers Program. I believe it's a little later on the agenda, but I was called and asked a question this morning, so I thought I would just give you a little information. So with the COVID-19 and the pandemic, there was thought that maybe we wouldn't have the program this summer as we originally typically have. And in working with the child care providers, we had written the grant to expand into Indiantown this year. And we really would like to continue to do it if we obtain your blessing. We've been working with Sister Elizabeth at Hope Rural to use her VPK teacher, Lupe, who's exceptional in her work. They have a score of 85 on their kindergarten readiness rate, starting with children who know no English. Those are the children that we'll be working with at the YMCA Indiantown this summer, starting June 22nd for a period of 6 weeks. It adds up to 29 days using that teacher. So the model is different than in previous years. They're longer days for a short period of time with an existing VPK teacher. And similarly, the location in Stewart would be the Apple Tree Academy on Central Parkway and Canner Highway. And that will be the VPK teacher that was in with the certified teacher in last year's program, so she knows the entire protocol of what we do during that program. So that's what we're recommending. If funding is needed for, more pandemic-related emergencies, we completely understand that. I just wanted to have an opportunity to explain to you what we have in the event that you'd like the summer slide prevention program to continue. Okay, it comes. The cost comes within just about $500 less than the budget for this session. So instead of the budgeted $24,738.91, because of the length of time during the day, it ends up at $24,174.40. So just to put that out there and give you the opportunity to consider it later on today when you're in discussions of that item.
Thank you, Ms. Houston. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, just a little shout out to Hope Rural. It is one of our hidden gems in this county of ours that they do a phenomenal and have done a phenomenal job all these years. The kids, I remember being out there years ago, and we had a young lady, I think she was 13, 12 or something, and she got up in front of a whole bunch of us, there were probably 20 of us in the audience, and gave sort of an overview of their program. And it was like as if you were talking to a 27-year-old that had just got back from college. She was absolutely outstanding. And they have a really treasured history out there, and they do a great job.
Thank you. I'd love to pass that along. And when I originally spoke with Sister Elizabeth about the possibility of doing it this summer, you know, the pandemic was very new, there was apprehension, but then when they spoke with the families really want to get the children back in some type of care and get the summer learning different than it is at home, where it's more recreational in nature. So now Sister Elizabeth is fully behind it, and Lupe, the teacher, is enthusiastic, so.
Did you put an application in for this request? Or are you
Yes.
telling us
Yes.
this for the first?
No, it's in.
There's an application? Thank you very much. We'll take what you said into consideration. I think this year, in many different facets, is a unique year. Certain programs that, you know, were more important last year or, you know, ranked differently, I think under the current circumstances, at least from my perspective, I will be weighing our grants and aids opportunities based on what we're currently going through.
Yes,
So I appreciate it.
understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next request to speak form is Ruth Peterson. Good morning and welcome.
I just wanted to say that I support masks for people working in retail and restaurants, but I'm actually here not about that. My name is Ruth Peterson. I live in Hobe Sound in the Poinciana Gardens development. We've owned our home for almost 7 years and have never had serious issues with flooding. On May 25th, our yard completely flooded to where our entire home was surrounded by water. We had a few inches of water in our shed, which has never happened before. Our road was completely covered. On Wednesday, June 3rd, it started again to raining again. I watched the water rise until we had no more grass. My husband stopped by the house to check on the situation. I had to pick him up at the front since his work vehicle could not get to our home. He was shocked at what he saw. He is 6'5", and the water in the street was up to his knees. Our shed flooded again. We had water in our garage and on our front patio. A few more inches and it would start coming in the doors. Our septic was not working properly. My daughter started to panic, so we decided to get a hotel room for the night. We came home on June 4th to find that we got very lucky and the water never entered the house. The weather forecast said strong and severe downpours, so we decided to stay at the hotel another night. Luckily, we only had minor rain that day, so we came home on Friday, June 5th. In the afternoon, it started raining again, and we watched the yard completely flood again. We were again lucky that it did not enter the home. This past weekend, we had a downpour that gave us a few inches of rain, and our street was partially flooded again. As of today, we still have standing water in our backyard. We've made multiple phone calls and emails to the county, but have still not heard from anyone. It seems the serious flooding in Poinciana Gardens is limited to the Orange Blossom Trail, Camellia, and Sweet Bay area. We understand that there are areas that have flooded much worse than ours, but those are also different circumstances. We have homes in our area that have never flooded before and are now. My husband and I have 2 special needs children and pets. We're extremely concerned that hurricane season is here. We have never felt the need to evacuate before since our home is CBS and we do not live in a mandatory evacuation zone or flood zone. My husband cannot evacuate due to his job, and the logistics of evacuating alone with pets and a medically complex child during a pandemic are extremely overwhelming. Our closest family is 10 hours away, so our options are very limited. There has been a lot of development in our area recently, and we're wondering if that has contributed to the issue. What we really need to know is if the flooding is caused by a change in drainage in another area and will be fixed, or if this is our new normal. We understand there was a lot of rain dumped very quickly, but we're struggling to understand how we have flooded worse than ever 3 times in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. Our next request to speak form is Warren Sharp. Sorry?
I will pass for right now.
Are you here for a specific agenda item?
Yes, Hope Sound, Hope Heights flooding.
Okay. We're going to have initial comments from public comment, but Ms. Krista, our agenda item to discuss that looks like it's later in the agenda. While we have these folks here, is there any way you can email the staff and I'll move that up so that the people that are
Yeah,
here for that?
I'm sure that they're paying attention. We're going to, actually, Nick is going to
See,
be
Mr.
doing it.
Zama is here, so
Yeah,
before,
but it's not- you're
not
not
yet,
doing it.
but when we get to that, we have 2 things happening for those people that are not aware. There are several residents from the Hobe Heights, Hobe Hills area here this morning, and some of the folks that worked on the rehabilitation of that area. And at our Friday special meeting, we had asked staff to give us an update. So that's officially on the agenda, and we have some public comment. So what I've requested of our county administrator is to see if we can't take that agenda item and bring it forward to first thing in the morning so that the people that are here in person can hear it at the same time, as well as the people from Poinciana Gardens. So that's what we're working on. So, Mr. Sharp, we'll hold your comments for a moment, and then Mark Pauls, you're here for public hearing number 1 and public hearing quasi-judicial, correct? So you'll wait and then you'll hear that item? Yes. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to address us for public comment, general public comment, not specific to an agenda item? If not, I'll go to Mr. Stokas. Do you have any emails that need to be read into the record, sir? Several?
I have quite a few.
Please begin.
Mr. Chair, the first public comment is from Marcia Powers, and she writes, "The Early Learning Coalition appreciates your continued support of our enrichment program offered to the children in Martin County. Due to COVID, we have modified how we deliver services to our families and strive to provide a safe learning environment. With public schools closed for the summer, the supplemental support we are offering to students is more important than ever. Thank you for your continued support." The next one is from R.J. Pazzi, and he writes, "From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmit onward to a secondary individual. Dr. Maria Van Cove, head of WHO Emerging Diseases and Zoonosis Unit, said at a news briefing from United Nations Agency Geneva headquarters, it's very rare." And let me get to the next part. "I think Cleveland Clinic's representative, Mr. Robert Lord, has lost his way and ask that the BCC rein him in, please. He is there to share his organization's statistics with public, not share his opinions on social justice issues. His repeated suspicions and biased opinions undermine his credibility. To imply and force upon us, the public, his unfounded opinions as is a disservice to the public. Just the facts, sir. And with many protest demonstrations for the last few years, which clearly are large gatherings, who is responsible for giving space on our state, county, or city roads? Specifically, the Roosevelt Bridge is often used by groups that create traffic jams that cost the county and city tax dollars and inconvenience and endanger innocent travelers through Stewart. I think local government needs to protect quality of life of the masses versus minority that are these smaller groups. At the very least, please give them space through main fairs." Next comment is from Tara Zwieben. "I am writing in support of United Way's Martin County's Tools for Success program. Prior to COVID-19, approximately 52% of our local students lacked the resources to show up on the first day of school adequately prepared with the necessary supplies for academic success. Prior to COVID-19, 50% of Martin County teachers expressed they spent over $500 of their own money on basic supplies for their students. With the financial hardships that face the entire world due to the pandemic, I can only imagine that our own community, those numbers will significantly be higher this August when our students return to their studies. They have already faced so many instructional challenges to no fault of our incredible school system that did everything within its power to rise to the occasion. Having the basic supplies necessary for instruction should not be one of those challenges. The United Way of Martin County has taken on the task of engaging partners within the community to support our students and provide them with the necessary supplies for school. I am asking that the Commission join the table and be one of those partners to help fund the effort of ensuring our students are adequately prepared with the necessary supplies for academic success. Please consider the grant submitted by the United Way for Tools for Success program." Next comment is from Nancy Trudell. I am writing to plead with you to do the right thing for our county, whether people like it or not. You will never make all the people in this county happy, but you have the power to make more of them safe. Take a look at the states and areas that are more successful, just by being more cautious about the phases of reopening and especially by requiring masks. Take a look at their numbers. It's working. We don't even grocery shop because of careless and callous attitudes here. It is a shame. People gathering, not wearing masks, burying their heads in the sand and acting like there's nothing going on, while our numbers are dangerously increasing. You are our local leaders, and we are at your mercy. You are the only ones who can help enforce this and at least require masks for retail employees and restaurant workers and other businesses to try to slow things down. We are a very dangerous and scary place with hospitalizations increasing and ICU beds decreasing, exactly where we did not want to be. Please tighten COVID-19 restrictions and do the right thing at today's meeting, and do not table this or postpone the decision for any reason. The time is now to make this necessary requirement. Thank you. Next comment is from Rocco Cavo. I filed a formal request for service on June 5th, 2020, request number 439466, and to date I have not received a response to my request. I live on Layton Farm Avenue in Palm City Farms, and although I have installed drainage on my own property, I have drainage ditches on 3 sides of my property that do not drain properly. As you are probably aware, the drainage ditches that run parallel to Layton Farm Avenue flooded during the heavy rains we received. The reason for the flooding was not due to the amount of rainfall received, but also due to the fact that the county does not clean out the massive amounts of debris that accumulate in the ditches from foliage, litter, and other refuse that is thrown into the ditches. Previously, I have had to physically clear out blockages in front of the culvert pipes in order for the water to drain properly. The flooding has caused the earth around the culvert pipe to collapse on either side of the driveway onto my property and is a hazard. Something significant has to be done to rectify this problem. If the county can't design a system that properly drains the water, the least they can do is have regular cleaning out of the drainage ditches. Finally, please have someone contact me in regards to my request for service before the driveway onto my property fully collapses. Thank you, Rocco Cavo. Next comment is from Kimberly Manzer. Please consider lifting all COVID-related restrictions. There's no science that has proven social distancing and face masks are effective. The use of face masks have been reported to result in more hand-to-face contact. We should be moving towards reinstalling our civil liberties. Please let people make their own decisions. Thank you for your consideration. Next comment, Maya Babu. Please pass an ordinance mandating face mask wearing. It is important to protect the public. There is solid data for this. Maya Babu, MD, Cleveland Clinic, Martin Health. Next comment, Mary Wynn O'Brien. Please take a strong stand on wearing a face protection and related public health measures to curb the spread of the virus. It is increasingly apparent that a number of restaurant owners do not care, serving staff are not wearing masks, and in some cases this is a point of pride. Having followed a few meetings on TV, it was clear that last Friday was a turning point in terms of concerns for the medical profession in Cleveland Clinic. The tone of the presentation was urgent, that more work needs to be done. As an older person, I am going out to shop, etc., because I do not feel safe, and the same with many of my neighbors. So if you want to bring the local economy back, you need to step up and make businesses understand that this is not a political matter, but a scientific one. The virus does not care who you are going to vote for. It only cares to survive on its terms. By succumbing to our political divisions, we are aiding the virus and causing unnecessary suffering and death. Real stupid. As to enforcement, I agree. Having the sheriff called is not the best solution or an effective one. Is there not a way that these public health steps can be made into health ordinance that is enforceable by inspection and citation? Businesses are used to those types of regulations, and this would seem to be an appropriate situation for such an action. If the bad actors are not stopped, all the rest of the businesses will suffer along with the people when the only course of action we have left is a strict lockdown because we are too selfish to take the appropriate steps early on. Also, I do not want to hear that this is an Hispanic problem. This is all our problem, and we should act responsibly and put our privilege to good use. Thank you. Next comment is from Tom Pine. At the special commission meeting of June 12, 2020, the CEO of Cleveland Clinic gave us a number of patients in the hospital battling COVID-19. On May 29th, there were 21 patients battling COVID-19. 2 weeks later, June 12, 2020, the number battling COVID-19 had far more than doubled to 47. These are numbers to follow because they can't be manipulated. The other alarming trend was the age of people getting infected. The median age of those in the hospital now is 39. Medium age in this case means that half the patients are above 39 and half were under 39. Several patients were already in the hospital for over 30 days. Now at this meeting, staff will bring a proposal forward that all restaurant employees and some other small business employees will be required to wear face mask coverings of some sort at work. Social distancing is another option. We should be enforcing in places like downtown Jensen Beach, where 2 restaurants and a trinket shop presently make that impossible. These are public sidewalks. Give them to the public, then social distancing would be possible. But that's not going to happen because the good old boys want the public sidewalk for their use and profit, and what the good old boys want, the good old boys in Martin County get. Can you say mooring field? It appears the Stewart News won't allow letters to the editors either if it shows Jensen Beach not following social distancing. It's more important to keep advertisers happy than public safety. The good old boys is also a reason more people don't run for public office. You just don't run against your opponent if he or she carries water for the good old boys. You run against a very well organized and financially strong group of businesses that will do whatever it takes to keep their person in office. While this may seem like an extreme comparison, the results are the same. Jeffrey Epstein got away with sexually assaulting girls and young women for years and years because he belonged to the right clubs. Just like the good old boy clubs, there are at least 2 sets of rules in government, one for the average guy and another for the good old boys club, and the pay-to-play club. Money talks louder and clear. Next comment from Tom Masters. This board seems surprised by the resurgence in cases. What did you think would happen when we opened everything up? Masks do nothing and won't make a difference. You need to figure out how people are getting COVID before they can even try to come up with a solution like mandating masks. Maybe that hospital guy can tell us how it's being transmitted. Until that is answered, no way to tell what will work. And if that can't be answered, then try to build a natural herd immunity, protect us in that way. Thanks, Tom. Next comment, Maggie Stellengrad. Please don't vote for mandatory masks. You're supposed to represent the people, and we are firmly against this. People should have the option to wear them or not. And there's really no research that they do anything. Next comment, Terry Smithson. The USA stands for freedom, and nowhere in the Constitution does it say that I must wear that oppressive nonsense. Just because the hospital is getting cases doesn't mean that you all need to vote for a terrible idea like mandatory masks. Next comment, Steve Fisher. Please don't force us to wear masks at work. I'm a server running and sweating everywhere, and I won't be able to breathe with a mask constantly on. I wear it when I can, but all the time is just not possible. Thank you. John Stevenson writes, when are the commissioners going to stop protesting so that hundreds of people in close contact with one another don't keep spreading the virus around? You can close a playground with a couple of kids, but not a huge rally. Jennifer Nolan writes, constant mask wearing has been proven to be both ineffective and unsafe. Wearing a mask causes people to wear them on their chin, and this causes cross-contamination. The average person touches their face 23 times more per day while wearing one. Forcing people to wear masks makes us breathe in our own toxins and CO2. Masks are great when worn by trained medical professionals, so that they are not so great when worn by public. I see people hang them on their rear mirrors and use the same mask without washing it for days and weeks at a time. This offers no protection. In fact, it makes the germ problem worse. Forcing constituents to wear a mask is a form of control to cover up the anxiety, nothing more. We are adults. Please work to preserve civil liberties, our bodily autonomy, and our freedom of choice. Masks can be recommended but never mandated. I will personally boycott any business that requires paying customers to wear a mask. I encourage others to do the same. We are not a communist state. Thank you for your time. And that is all the public comment that I have at this time for public comment.
Mr. Merker is our administrator for our Zoom meeting, and there are some folks that are on line with us via Zoom. We do the emails, for those of you who are wondering why we're doing this, we do the emails, public comment, and we've layered in the Zoom option to give our residents the most opportunities to participate in the meeting. Those of you that are here obviously stepped it up to the top level, but we wanted to create as many opportunities, so that's why we're going through this process. Mr. Merker, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioners. For those of you who are dialed in by telephone, if you want to raise your hand to speak, the command is *9 on your phone. First up is, let's see if I can get this a little smaller, is Frank McShane, and I just have to get him to unmute. Or not. There we go.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Good morning,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
McShane.
sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners and all people present. My name is Frank McShane. I live on Savage Street at the very end in Palm City on the farms. And during the rain that we recently had, we had a major issue with the canal, if you want to call it a canal, or the waterway that runs along the side of Naked Lady Ranch. And that particular brook canal burst over the sides of the bank and flooded one of the properties. That flood then continued to contaminate 3 or 4 more houses down the road. Eventually, it raised high enough to then cross the street and affect 5 or 6 properties on the other side of the road. What we understand at this moment in time as the residents is we've seen along that particular canal that it has been blocked in 3 different locations. One of them may even have a culvert in there. So the question raised is, first of all, is the county cleaning out the canals? Second of all, has the county approved all culverts that have been installed on major canals for access for people getting out of their properties? Because what's happening is that if we've got a canal that's maybe 10, 12 foot wide and we put in a 30-inch culvert, it does not have the capacity to allow that water to pass through it at such a volume. And in doing that, then obviously we get the backup of water along the canal bank and the bursting of the canals and the levees as such, flooding properties along the whole of that stream of water. I'm sure that's happening in a lot of other areas. I myself, and along with a few of my neighbours 2 years ago, invested some money in cleaning up our culverts and swales along the side of our streets. And since then, not once has the county been along to check those culverts or to clean them out. I'm also very concerned that when we are putting culverts in, that sometimes we put them very close to the streets, which then can have the effect of eroding the street stability at a later stage with heavy rains. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. McShane, if you could do me a favor and also send us an email for your address and some of those issues, I can submit it to our staff as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jackie Price. I just have to find her. There she is.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, I'm Jackie Price. I'm the Director of Grants and Strategic Initiatives at the Boys and Girls Club. And we have a grant application that's being considered today. And on behalf of our organization, I'd first like to thank all of you for your support over the past year and your continued support going into next year. And I'd like to share just a couple of successes with you over the past year. With your support, we have served over 1,200 students in grades K-8 through our AmeriCorps program, where we are improving educational and behavioral outcomes for students in our schools. We also have been able to serve over 1,800 kids within our 4 standalone clubs. where we provide holistic programming in the areas of academic success, good character and citizenship, and healthy lifestyles. And then we've also been able to serve an additional 4,000 students through outreach. We are proud to report good-year outcomes in our middle school AmeriCorps program show that 85% of students improved on behavioral referrals and nearly 80% improved their math and English language arts grades. And in our elementary school AmeriCorps program, 96% of students improved their English language arts competency. And as well in our club, enrollment has increased 21% over the past year. And thanks to our strong partnership with the school district, we do have a data sharing agreement that allows us to meet kids where they are academically and provide interventions in our clubs that are administered by certified teachers. And data does show that across our clubs, students who participate in our academic enrichment programs experience larger iReady growth rates compared to students in their schools who are not club members. So once again, on behalf of our organization, thank you for your support, and we look forward to working with you next year to serve children and teens in Martin County.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, our next speaker is, and I apologize if I get this name wrong, Livia De Bonet.
In the green box.
The big L.
The green.
The big L, thank you. Wow.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Livia De Bonet, and I live in Palm City. As a citizen of Martin County, I'd like to express my immense concern over the growing number of residents not exercising social distance nor using face masks in public, fully disregarding CDC guidelines despite the fact that our COVID-19 numbers, hospitalizations, and deaths have been increasing at exponential rates since the reopening process started here. I'm a small business owner myself. I own a professional photography studio right in the heart of downtown Stuart, and I specialize in photographing newborns, children, and families. Like many other business owners out there, I too suffered the financial burden of closing my doors in the middle of March and seeing absolutely no revenue for almost 3 months. So I fully understand how important the reopening process is. For the well-being of my clients and our community, when I restarted my photo sessions, I made several significant modifications to my practice, which included strict restrictions, social distance, and mask wearing. My indoor studio space continues to be closed to all clients and to the public. All my photo sessions are being held outdoors with strict social distance measures, like using a long zoom lens, which enables me to be at 6 to 10 feet from clients at all times. All consultations and orders are being done 100% online. I also wear a face mask and require any adult who's not being photographed to also wear a face mask at all times during our photo sessions, especially when social distance is not possible. While photographing at local parks and while driving through downtown Stuart, I have noticed time and time again an alarming number of people walking around without a mask and not keeping social distance from strangers, and that's the vast majority. Wearing a mask while I work is uncomfortable. It makes me sweat, it makes my camera viewfinder fog up, and combined with the distance, makes it very hard for me to give clients instructions on what to do next and how to pose themselves. So I too understand that wearing a mask in Florida's weather, and especially while working, is a sacrifice. However, it's a very small sacrifice I'm proud to make to help make my clients and my community safer. Furthermore, I have not received any client complaints over the restrictions I've implemented. In fact, they often comment on how greatly they appreciate that I consider their health a priority over my own comfort. Encouraging and enforcing social distance and masks and making masks mandatory is a matter of public health and should be implemented as soon as possible. We have heard from Rob Lord, the CEO of Cleveland Clinic Martin Health, that our hospitals run the risk of getting overwhelmed very soon. We need immediate action towards preventing more disease and death in our beautiful community before things get worse or it's too late. These measures will also help all small business as it will prevent us from having to completely close our doors again. There may be challenges in implementing and enforcing them.
Ma'am, your time's up. Your time's up. Thank you.
Small towns.
Ma'am, your time's up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Christina Acevedo.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Christina Rivera Acevedo, and I'm a resident in Palm City. And I'm calling because I'm asking, will you please make masks mandatory? As a mom of a 9-year-old boy who's an active participant in the community, I am scared by what I am seeing around town. Nobody's wearing masks, completed with the rapidly rising number of our COVID cases. If you are concerned about making masks mandatory because people will complain of freedoms lost, let me remind you that they have to follow some of these rules, laws for public safety, so loss of freedom should not be an excuse. For example, there's no smoking in restaurants. We have to wear seatbelts so we get a ticket. There's laws to have car insurance, laws to protect children in a car seat. Those are just a few. I could go on and on. My body or my property, my rules doesn't apply or work in our society right now. We're not asking for people to wear masks forever just while our economy is getting open to slow down the spread until there's a treatment or a vaccine. We really don't think this is too much to ask. You guys are elected officials. With that honor comes really tough decisions. The silent majority supports mask wearing. Please do what is right to protect the public and save lives and people's bank accounts from expenses they might incur going to the hospital. As for the economy, you're only hurting the economy by not making masks mandatory. We may have to shut down again. Also, employees may get sick so they can't work if it spreads like wildfire throughout a company or business. We want the economy to open, but it needs to be open safely. Last but not least, we need to protect our healthcare workers who put their lives on the line every day. We need to save the hospital beds for not only COVID patients, but also for heart attacks, head injuries, and whoever else gets sick. This is not my body, my rules situation. This is a public safety and health situation. Please do what is right. Thank you.
And unless anyone else raises their hand, our last speaker.
Yeah.
No. Our last speaker is Mr. Charles. We didn't miss you.
Thank you so much. My wife and my family have been living in Palm City Farms for 2004. We're avid supporters of those folks who wear masks, but the big topic for us right now is the flooding and the water actually flowing. We live on 42nd and 66th.
Out in the farm.
The farms, and we have seen over the last 13, 14 years, 15 years since we've been living here, that even though we try to maintain our gutters, or the expectation is that we do our part, my neighbors do our part, but it doesn't go all the way. So we're looking for a more macro view, assistance from this team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please make sure, sir, to register with our request for service portal on the county's website to make sure that we have your address in the system. Thank you very much.
Send it up today.
Mr. Merker, is that it?
I believe so, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I did have one request to speak form for an item that we won't be, it's a general item. It's Miss Claudia Shipman.
She's gone.
She left?
Yes.
Okay. Got to her as fast as we could. With that in mind, is our staff prepared?
Yes, sir.
I have a series of public comments that were all part of Hope Heights, Hope Hills, and flooding issues. So what I would like to do is, they're here, I see them, socially distant throughout the room. But before we do that, I'd like our staff to also hear from our residents first. The first person I'm going to introduce is it's not for a timer.
Oh.
Ms. Krista, there's several. I just know that this person had been coordinating with this group of affected residents, so I want to introduce him and have him sort of lead this. Mr. Stephen Layton, who is from United, 25 United, and he has done remarkable work. He started originally assisting after the devastation in the Bahamas, and then his organization was literally on, I think they got called in on a Friday through social media, and first thing Saturday morning, he and a team of people and lots of volunteers were there. Mr. Layton, good morning. Why don't you tell us what's up?
Good morning. Spot on in regards to how we got contacted. Sunday, we wrapped up the community with the 11 homeowners that are here with you today. I know several are on Zoom. We have cleaned out their homes up to the 4-foot level with drywall and items, displaced them into either apartments or with family or in hotels. And, the next step for them is to go where? And I think that's the vision and the hope that they're looking from you all as to where do they go from here. They are well aware of the rain events that we have coming up this weekend. Your Public Works and Michael Clark and his team were down there again this morning, continuing to pump. I think this is going to be an ongoing issue for a while. They recognize that. You all recognize it. I appreciate each of you. All the commissioners have at some point or another come down there, spoken with these residents. Your state representatives have been down there, to include our senator and obviously your congressman. So where do we go from here? I know there's been a discussion of a pump or buying the homes. It's not in our wheelhouse to do that, but the dialogue to continue to have with those families and you all is why we're here today. We asked them to come at Commissioner Jenkins' request to be heard and to have a point of contact moving forward from us to you all, and that's it.
Thank you. We have several request to speak forms. Would you like to sort of work on bringing them up? Who's interested? Some, if you haven't filled out a form but you are interested in speaking, you can come speak and then fill the form out after the fact. So I have Benjamin McDowell. Would you like to come forward? Ms. Christie.
Why don't you give them
for these
alternating mics again and tell them?
And did you hear Molly?
I didn't hear what you said.
Why don't you have them all, just explain to them the speaking
Yeah, if you
part.
could come up, we'll go back and forth between the microphones so our cleaning guru can sanitize the microphones. And Ms. Krista will do the timing for these speakers. Sir, good morning. It's nice to see you again.
Good morning. Good to see you, and thank you to you and Commissioner Jenkins and all the commissioners for all that you have done for us. Obviously, it's been a couple weeks that we hadn't planned on, and were different than we had expected. On June 3rd in the morning, I woke up, normal morning, and by 9:30 was back in the house trying to remove my girls, 2 little girls, 4 years old, 2 years old, my wife who's expecting and due in November, and move our belongings up on blocks to get them hopefully as safe as possible out of the rising floodwater. And obviously, we can look at this and say what was or wasn't done in the past. I understand that there's been changes in the drainage system. I understand there's been lots of different things that we've worked on, that you've worked on as a commission, and I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Our concern is moving forward. From my perspective, and I know from a lot of the community's perspective, do we invest $30,000 into redoing, or $50,000 or whatever it's going to be into redoing our home? We're in a no flood zone, therefore we had no flood insurance. Do we invest that money that frankly I at least don't have, and then if the situation isn't rectified or remedied in such a way that's long-term solution, do we have the situation take place again? I understand it's a greater than average normal rainfall. I hear those things, and I understand the difficulty this puts you in. But for us, the thing that I really need, and I think we really need, is to know some sort of a timeline, some sort of a clearer understanding of what do we actually do moving forward. Frankly, I can't wait 6, 8, 18 months, whatever it might be. Mortgage payments have to be made, and of course, just a home that we need to get back into, or if it's a situation where FEMA or whoever it is going to come in and buy our home, we need to know that as well, because I don't want to invest that money and then have it just be basically gone down the drain. So, our concern, it feels to us, and I know this matters to you, your hearts, I trust your hearts, this feels like a little bit of a moral issue. How can we try to get out of this situation going forward to fix it long-term. And I would be happy to live in Hope Heights. I'd be happy to live in that home. But I'm also willing for that home to be purchased or go a different direction if that's the best thing. But we just need to know moving forward what is what is going to be done to actually take care of this. This rain could happen next week. It could happen next year. And I don't want to, for us or our neighbors, have a similar situation take place again where we invest this time and effort and energy and then it be washed away again in another flood. So I appreciate all you're doing. I truly do and want you to know that. But also, I feel for us, we need fairly urgent answers to know how do we proceed immediately, whether I start investing in renovating or do we just wait.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Can you just give me a status of what your house looks, for the folks that are here, what the status of your home is this morning?
This morning, we have all the drywall out up to 4 foot. I've removed all the tile. Some of the tile was laid over top of linoleum, and so just removed all of that, even nails and studs, or nails and screws and things out of the stuff. It's ready to go as far as being able to, I'm working on drying it out. It's ready to go as far as being able to renovate it. And like I said, I have a baby due in November, so I want to get back in there. But until we know what we need to do, we don't know how to proceed.
Right. Kitchen cabinets, bathrooms, all that,
Kitchen
John?
cabinets, everything. It's basically
How's-
gutted. For
I know the condition. I just want people to understand
Sure.
the level of severity that we're talking.
Yeah.
And all of your belongings, the ones that you were not able to save, and I know this is going to be the case for everyone, where'd they end up?
I assume, thanks to the county and the county dump or wherever it is that.
All of your, I just want people that are listening at home
Mm-hmm.
and here to understand what we're discussing. I mentioned at our last meeting, it's one thing to look at a flood condition on television.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I had always seen it.
Sure.
You know, I've seen post-hurricane stuff, but to see the homes, and our next speaker, I worked in her home, all of your belongings were dragged out to the curb by volunteers, and then Waste Management came with the clam truck and just scooped it all up and put it in the back of the truck. I want people to understand that's the level that we're talking about here.
Sure.
So thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
Ma'am, you are next. Mr. Layton, if you could help her. Would you
You wanna
prefer to
share
be
this
sitting
mic-
down, ma'am, to speak? If you could just state your name for the record, please.
Martha Harris. I had 2 strokes. I have a special need daughter.
Ma'am, I'm familiar with your situation, so let me share it with you if you don't mind. For the folks that were not able to hear, Ms. Harris, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Harris recently has been the victim of 2 strokes, which is obviously has affected her ability to speak. Her home was on Peacock Street. It was one in. Mr. Layton on last Thursday broke all the volunteers into teams. We were thrilled. He was expecting 40 or 50 volunteers to show. I think there was approximately 300 volunteers that showed up. Church organizations, not-for-profits, Martin County Fire Rescue, Martin County Sheriff's Office, our county staff, lots and lots of people. So we broke into teams of about 30, okay? None of us knew each other. Some are construction folks, some are just Goodwill volunteers, and we went into her home. Now remember, this is not clean water. These are septic systems that had completely failed and were washed up to the surface and into the homes. So in Ms. Harris's case, and I don't mean to be morbid, but the smell was nearly impossible to enter the home. I had tasted that smell in my throat for days afterwards. But the volunteers pushed on, and we scooped up all of Miss Harris's belongings, and there wasn't a lot of time. I'm sure she saved some of her things, but the volunteers were bringing it out one after the other, all of her stuff, everything from the kitchen, everything from the dining room. We could not get her sofa out of the living room, so some gentleman came in and cut it in half so that we could take it out of the house. And we threw it all in a dumpster. must do something to correct this for these people. Mr. Layton, you want to jump in?
So I think what's unique to Mrs. Harris is she has a special needs daughter as well, and we're working through the county and the county staff to address that. She's been staying out at the Hutchinson Island Marriott while this is taking place. Another organizations are helping with displacement. Some don't have family, some don't have friends here. But when Brandon Dames reached out to me on that Saturday that we were all there and expressed the issues that Mrs. Harris was going through, we all reacted. And so this is kind of what you're dealing with. A child that's coming here in November, and Mrs. Harris, who for all her life has lived in Hope Sound. More importantly, all her items are completely gone. And we are working through a GoFundMe and, more importantly, a wish list through Amazon so the community can help with that. When I say everything, you saw it. And if it didn't get wet, it had mold on it already. So her whole life is upside down, and as is all the rest of the 11 homes that Department of Emergency Management identified for us to take care of. So these are the needs, these are the issues. And for those that are watching or listening, I don't want for anybody to think that the county or the state has not done anything, because like you said, had it not been from you all in the county to step up in the ways that you did, we could be in a worse predicament. Saturday night it rained for 45 minutes, and it has put Michael Clark and his team for a whole week now to continue pumping. We have rain coming Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Where's that going to be? So for Mrs. Harris and her family, we're working on a place right now. We were just advised while we were sitting here through a message that another family, tonight's their last night at their place. So these are the real things that while we're all at home, they're addressing and figuring out. So did you
Thank
wanna
you.
share anything else?
Thank you very much, Ms. Harris. We're not going to let you down. The community and the county, we won't forget this situation, because, you know, although the houses are in the current state that they have been in, you know, it's just human nature that people move on. But you don't have that as an option. There's only so many nights you can stay in a hotel, and as we heard from a previous speaker, you're still responsible for making your mortgage payments, even though the house is completely destroyed, and all of your other utility payments. So this is an urgent matter, and I know that the information that you'll hear from our county staff next will hopefully be very reassuring. Let's take anyone else from the neighborhood. I have Warren Sharp, and then if you're interested in speaking after the fact, you can just come forward and state your name for the record, fill the form out. Mr. Sharp, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Warren Sharp, 7374 Southeast James Street. I've lived there 35 years. We dealt with this problem in '92, and I got a hold of Sheriff Snyder, who was our Republican representative. And I figured out through Google Earth why we were flooding. One, golf courses that were built across the street. Two, that Kitchen Creek is not allowed to flow down through the state park to the Loxahatchee. Jupiter and Tequesta got together and says, we don't want this because of what's in the water. Partly because lack of maintenance in the area for the water to flow. Army Corps of Engineers did a survey in 1920s and 30s of how water flowed in this area. They determined that the wetlands to the west of the golf courses is the way the natural flow of water is. When Greg Norman built his golf courses, that messed it all up. We started flooding after they were built. I had a friend who was a trauma surgical ER nurse at Martin Memorial. She lived here all her life. She says never, including Hurricane David, did US 1 ever flood. Now, what did they do? They raised it 3 feet, dug a big hole beside it to fill it in. The problem is lack of maintenance in this county, period. They don't clean things out like they're supposed to or should. You know, they say, oh, we don't have the money for it. Well, you need to get the money for it and fix the problem. You need to talk to the state about cleaning out the park. Make sure that the water flows through the park correctly. Sheriff Snyder did it at the time, and in 3 days, the amount of water that went out of our neighborhood and Kitchen Creek dropped. Kitchen Creek is normally about 3 or 4 feet deep. It was over 12 feet deep at Bridge Road. It went down in 3 days because they got it cleaned out. That's the bottom line. Lack of maintenance in this area. The DOT canal beside the Indian Motorcycle Shop, it hasn't gone down at all. Because I could bet you go up to the Manatee Pocket, it's clogged up. It won't flow. Bottom line, it needs to be fixed. Wastewater that came out of our neighborhood, you know, the Director of Public Works wants to buy land north of Dollar General down there and filter it. If the water flowed properly, we wouldn't have to filter it. It could go into the DOT canal and down to Kitchen Creek and be clean water as required by the county, the state, and federal guidelines.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Please
sir.
stay, that was your 3 minutes. Please stay to listen to our county staff that's going to give an update on what the strategy is. Yes, Ms. Kristen?
Yes, I have, Commissioner Jenkins would like to speak, so Mike, if you can, and then also, if you check your Zoom, you might have Senator Harrell on, who would also like to speak. Go ahead.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Well, I was just going to say that Senator Harold is with us on Zoom and would like to update us on what she and Marilyn Magar and Toby Oberdorf have done and are doing for us right now with regards to this. So I could defer to her, please.
Sure. Mr. Merker, do you have Senator Harold there?
I don't see her identified unless she's calling in on a telephone.
She may be.
If you show us that,
Yes, I will.
that big picture, maybe.
I shall. Possibly.
Mr. Murphy, black, by the way.
Could it be the 305 area code number?
I would doubt that.
I just wanted to, I'm asking to have someone look into this matter.
Why don't we do this instead of making everyone wait? If, Ms. Krista, if you could text someone or find out specifically. Commissioner Jenkins, do you have any idea if she's calling in by the telephone or if she's
Yes.
Zooming in?
She has a 772 area code.
Yeah.
I was told she was on Zoom, so I'm sorry.
Well, here, let's try this. I'm going to unmute the telephone number that ends in 113 and see if that's her.
Thank you. Do that.
If you're called in and your phone number ends in 113, you're unmuted. Is that you,
No.
Senator?
That is not her number.
No? Okay.
Well, she could be calling from an office number.
There are only 2 people that are called in by telephone, and one's a 305 number and one's a 772 number.
Okay, well, when she gets on, let's try to get back to her.
Thank you. What I'd like to do, because I know a couple of the remaining public speakers need to go to their jobs, if you are part of that Hope Heights and you would like to come forward and make a public comment, please come forward now. Good morning.
My name's Ariana.
Closer to the mic.
I live on Southeast James Street next to the retention area. And we had 8 inches in the house. Sorry. We just don't know where to go from here.
Well, we're going to help with that.
I can't afford a mortgage and rent. We appreciate all your help, but we need more help. We were getting ready to sell, because we have it's a 2-2, it's a starter home, it was perfect, but we need to expand for our family, and we were just getting ready to list, and then this happens, and who's going to buy that home? Thank you.
Well, you're not alone. We got a team of our employees. You got Steve Layton. He gets a lot of stuff done. He represents Congressman Mast. We have Representative Oberdorf has been to your neighborhood. Senator Harold's been to your neighborhood. Representative Marilyn Magar has been to your neighborhood. The commissioners have been to your neighborhood. We're not going to let this languish because I think everyone can relate to the fact that most people cannot afford to pay rent and also pay their mortgage on a home that's destroyed. So, if you're not able to stay to hear what we're saying, we record these meetings and you can watch it on the computer tonight. We're also going to create a county liaison, someone that will be your person that can work amongst our departments, because you're not supposed to know every detail. And they're going to be sort of your point person to go to as we move through this process. And we're going to move as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Is there anyone else, sir?
Ed, before you go.
Oh, I apologize. Commissioner Smith.
So for the people that are left that haven't spoke yet, and if you have to go, who from Hope Heights is here that hasn't spoke that wants to speak?
This gentleman right here, this woman we have.
Lady,
You want to just
okay,
come
I just
forward?
want to, what I want to make sure, because we got to let them talk.
Yes.
And if they got to go, I want you to stay as long as you can so that you can hear staff and our commentary. So can we move through them and then?
Yes. Sir, you're welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Colby Bisa. I reside at 7333 Southeast James Street in Hope Heights. I just spent the last 3 years renovating my house. I've moved from California to Arizona to here. There's no family. I've been all over the world building engines my entire life. I come here, work at Pratt Whitney. I'm more fortunate than most. I'm living with a friend. Who knows how long that's going to go. I'm still paying mortgage payments on my house. Current state of my house, I have probably 36 fans inside blowing air, trying to dehumidify the inside of my house. The drywall's cut up 4 feet. The entire kitchen I just spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars putting in is gone. All my property was able to be saved because I had great neighbors. Benjamin helped me out. Sky and Ariana helped me out. We got majority of my stuff off the ground. But the neighborhood needs the help. My neighbor behind me, Marty, he's unable to be here. His house is totaled. A lot of these people don't have flood insurance because it's not deemed a floodable zone. The county sold these lots to a contractor, and the contractor built next to a retention pond. Yes, it's 14 feet below US 1, but it doesn't help when it floods 92, 95, 2005, and now current. We just had the drains redone last year. Now I got a retention pond that floods when we get a little rainstorm. That's normal for the area. This is our new normal, is our retention pond is going to flood and come into my house, Ariana's house, Ben's house, Warren's house. Where do we go? I stopped by my property yesterday. The pump that's supposed to pump out of the retention pond isn't there. June 3rd, I'm on bed rest from a cycling accident. I get up because I hear it raining. I go outside, the pump's not on, and the water's lapping at my garage door. How do we fix the issue? I have a contractor on the line right now. He just got the green light to finish my house again for the second time. Do I rebuild the house, or do I wait for the commissioners in Martin County and the federal government to come in? Are they going to buy the house? Are they going to pay the dollar it's worth? Or am I going to go into debt because they're only going to pay me $200,000 for a house? Where do I go?
We're working on it.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Peg Fickett. I'm in here representing my daughter, who is too shy to speak. Her name's Caitlin Sinnott. She lives right next door to Bert. She had 2.5 feet of water in her home. We stayed in that home 24 hours a day with vacuum cleaners in every room. These kids bought their house 3 years ago, gutted the house, and did a beautiful, beautiful job. They have lost everything. I mean, I can't say that they lost everything. They were very good at trying to get as much of their stuff out as they possibly could. They've lost all the furniture. All the cabinets are gone, which were all brand new. My daughter was so proud of herself for finally paying off the kitchen, and it's all gone. She is one of the fortunate that she can stay with me for the time being. But I rent, so I don't know how long the landlord is going to allow that to happen. But with hurricane season coming up and everything else. I mean, for 4 days, we tried to hold this off, and there was nobody there to help us with pumps, to try, and all of us were calling, all of us were complaining, every one of them. We couldn't get anybody in there to help with the pumps to try and get this water down. We need a solution that is going to last. They want to stay in their home. They love their home. They'd like to redo their home, but they're afraid to do it now. I mean, they've already lost everything they put into that home. And for trying to sell the home is going to be impossible. But they need some answers, and they need some help right now, because they, like the others, they have to pay their mortgage. They have to pay all of the bills to keep the house going and keep the fans going in these places. We need help right now. And I appreciate you all trying to do the very best that you can. I appreciate, the work that you're trying to do. It's a little bit late as far as I'm concerned when it was all happening, but whatever we can do now, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We do have Senator Harrell on now.
One, just to have her.
Okay.
Sir, did you want to speak to this? That gentleman next to you, Mr. Layton, with the light blue short sleeve shirt, is he speaking? Okay, we're going to close out that portion, and Mr. Merker, if you could bring up Senator Harrell, please.
She's via phone.
Via phone.
Senator Harrell, can you hear us?
Yes, and thank you so much for allowing me to zoom in. Unfortunately, I can only do this via phone. I don't even have video working right now on this. Zoom calls are sometimes problematic, but I am here, and I just want to thank you all for addressing this issue, and this is a very tough time for all of us, and especially for our residents down in Hope Sound. I was down there on Thursday. I can tell you it is just devastating. And we toured the whole area. Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins, for taking Representative Magar and myself for a tour of the area. We were then at the wonderful event that Stephen Layton was able to organize, and thank you, Stephen, for your hard work on that. But our delegation, I wanted to let everybody know, and especially working closely with Commissioner Jenkins and also Karen, I appreciate you so, and the wonderful folks at your engineering department. The state is committed, and our delegation is committing to go to the state and see what can be done. And from our conversations on Thursday, I can tell you that we're seriously looking at Jonathan State Park. That's under the direction of the Division of Park Fitness State Park, but under DEC. And in fact, we are writing a delegation letter right now that is going to go to Noah Balancing, who is the Secretary of DEC. And we will be addressing the state park issues there, making sure that those weirs can be opened. And
Hey, Gail, I'm sorry, this is Doug Smith. Can you either, I don't know if you're speaking directly into the phone, or can you speak a little bit slower? Maybe it's really hard to hear the detail.
Okay, is that better?
Much.
Okay. As I was saying, I'll repeat a little bit if it was unclear. The delegation is committed to really pushing this with the state, and we're going to do everything that we can. I know Representative Oberdorf has been down there as well. Representative Magar and myself did a large tour through the whole area, seeing the houses, seeing where the flooding was, and also then I was able to be there for the wonderful event that Stephen Layton had, and to help clean up the area. But we're looking very seriously, very closely at what is happening within the state park, within Jonathan Dickinson. And Jim Gordon has given me some recommendations. We're looking at what can be done to ameliorate some of the situation and some of the backup, so that there is that natural flow that needs to go into the state park, whether it is having mobile gates on weirs or a variety of things. Also, we are going to be writing the letter not just to Noah Valenstein, who is the director of DEP. The state parks come under them, under DEP. We're also going to, we're doing a delegation letter that will be going to Jared Moskowitz at Department of Emergency Management. And FEMA comes under that. The direct funds from FEMA come under that. So I think there may be some mitigation, and we're going to look very carefully at what mitigation can be done and what the state, in coordination with the feds, can do for FEMA money to come in with mitigation. I think this, the level of flooding and I saw those houses. My goodness, it's devastating, and my heart goes out to all the people who were so affected by this and lost their homes. But we're going to see what we can do with mitigation in those areas and see if we can't get some FEMA money to help make that happen. But the entire delegation is totally committed to doing whatever we can do at the state level and be a conduit to the feds to really make some changes in Hope Sound.
Senator Harrell, thank you very much. We appreciate your comments, and keep us posted, our staff posted, if there's anything you need from us to speed this along. Obviously, time is of the essence. Thank you very much. We're getting close to our closed...
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. We're getting close to our closed captioning break. Why don't we have representatives of staff come forward and give us an update on what the current situation was prior to this. You know, I know that there's been a lot of conversation about work and things that we've heard. If you could give us an update, and then obviously it's really early in the process to understand what we'll be doing in terms of, are we purchasing these homes or allowing people to go in and continue to do renovations, not 100% sure that, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 weeks from now we'd have an issue. And then I want to hear from my colleagues. Sir.
Hi. My name is Nick Muzia.
Right into the microphone, please.
Engineer for our field operations group. So I'm going to report on some of the flooding that we had. Obviously, I want to begin with the fact that I can't understand what everyone's gone through because I haven't gone through it myself, and it's absolutely devastating. I can only try to imagine how bad it is and see what we can do to make that better. So with that, I'm going to go over a little bit of some of the flood statistics, the areas that were affected, the amount of rainfall, and some of the things that we've identified as to why it was so impactful. We're also going to review the impacted areas and then talk about a couple of other items. So flood statistics. So in general, this is a snapshot from South Florida Water Management that kind of shows how much rain we did receive. And the little numbers on there are the actual rain gauges. So that was an actual one at 27 inches in Hope Sound. You can see the scale. This is, you know, it kind of ends at 15 and everything else is white because of just the extreme amount of rain that occurred. And most of this was really in about a 10-day period between, it was a Monday, May 25th, and then I think it was that Friday, it would be June 6th or 7th or something like that. They're also, you know, they estimated a maximum of 34 inches, which, you know, our average annual rainfall is about 60, so we've pretty much received 50% of our annual rainfall within a period of 10 days. And one of the things that, you know, really makes that so impactful for us is we received that rain on May 25th, and that saturated the ground and raised the groundwater table. And then when we received that additional rain on that Tuesday, June 3rd, we received a lot more runoff than we would usually receive because the ground is saturated and not able to soak that water in. And that is one kind of specific thing that really elevated why Hope Heights was, had such an issue, because that area was based off of exfiltration and soaking and its ability to soak into the ground. And you can see, in general, the Martin County and coastal area was hit the hardest out of about anywhere within the South Florida Water Management Basin. So we have, as a total, there were 32 confirmed homes that flooded and 9 that were deemed with major damage per the DEM review that I think took place end of last week. one of the things that during the rain events, the county staff utilized the Web EOC program to track the status and updates and conditions of a lot of the flooded roadways. And this one right here is Heritage Ridge, with the back entrance off of Dixie. So some of the affected areas, I wanted to start with a little bit of this. So just some extra background to South Florida Water Management. Minimum design considerations for new developments and everything is based off of a 25-year rain event. And that's where they base their fixed floor elevations on. We received 2 or greater than 2 of those within a 10-day period. And one of the aspects of that is the roads. When you get an extreme rain event, the roads are intended to flood, and then they can pass that stormwater away from the properties. So road flooding was expected when we had that second one, and that's why it really was a pretty bad day on that Tuesday in June. So here's a couple of other photos that kind of showing we had, I'm not sure the total, but there was a lot of roads that were inundated for a day or 2 or more. So we have Hope Heights here. This is the Craig Street and James Street pond. Again, you can see the devastation. This, I think, there was drone footage taken to the area on, I believe it was either a Friday or Saturday after the rain. So this is still several days afterwards. Heritage Boulevard was another one. Ridgeway is another community just near there that had issues. And one thing that we've seen as a result of this, a lot of the rain was concentrated within the East Fork Creek Basin, which pretty much runs from, it discharges underneath Manatee Cove Road in Rocky Point and winds its way through Sea Branch, then through Mariner Sands, through Heritage Ridge, and then all the way back to Point Siena Gardens. And that area is where a lot of the rain fell, and that creek we noticed was just inundated for a long period of time. And that was one factor that we found as contributing to why we had such an issue the second period. We had a lot of the Gomez, another couple of other affected areas. The Hope Hills area was affected pretty badly. Kitchen Creek Basin, the entire Gomez corridor, Elaine Street up in Jensen, and Sea Branch all the way at the US 1 intersection, then pretty much all of Sea Branch heading west. This is an area where we had a pump at Sandcastle, and in this instance, we actually had to have about a quarter mile of discharge hose to be able to find an outfall, and this was pretty common in some of the areas. That's one of the challenges with when we were pumping, and another challenge is as we run a quarter mile of discharge line, it runs under or over driveways and other roads, and as cars drive over it, it impacts it, and we found ourselves doing a lot of changing hoses to try to keep the pumps moving as best as possible. We had at least 6 pumps out, and those 6 pumps will do about, with that case, about 7 million gallons a day is what we were pumping. And a lot of times, once we got it pumped down, we were having issues with groundwater. The groundwater table elevation was actually higher than the elevation of some of the roads. So we would pump a system down, and the water would come right back up. And we have some temporary groundwater monitoring wells that were installed in response to this that we're going to kind of track and monitor so we can learn for the future how fast systems like this recover and do better design based on that. Here's a photo of Jensen Beach and Elaine. Here's a photo of US 1 at Parkway. So the pipe that goes under US 1 here is a 7-foot diameter or a 7-foot tall box culvert. So that water right there is just the sheer amount of water is trying to flow through a 7-foot tall box culvert, and they're typically about 8 feet wide, and it's backing up that far. We had the US 1 at Sea Branch. So obviously we had a lot of flooding at that intersection, and we ended up installing a pump to kind of short circuit or route it a little bit differently, and we were pretty successful in draining Sea Branch within a couple of days. Also up Sea Branch, Lost Lakes entry. A lot of these neighborhoods are built off of wetland storage and retention and then discharge at a controlled rate. Because we had a second storm that piggybacked right behind the first one, all those areas that are usually utilized for storage were already full. So all of a sudden, we're getting a lot more runoff than is intended, and that's why that second storm was it June 3rd, caused so much impact. So obviously, county staff was out there, and even me personally was brought into the Hope Hills issue on Saturday morning to talk to a couple of the residents out there, and we installed that 8-inch pump at the top of Hope Terrace, and I was there personally until about 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday until we got it running, just because we wanted to make sure and do all we could to get it running. But we had other staff too that did a lot of great things to try to keep the things running. So as you can see here, one of our staffs, Kenny Brower, when a hose fitting broke, put goggles on to dive down and reconnect it so we could continue to try to pump Hope Heights out. So one of the another just a general issue that we had with Hope Heights was because of the different retention ponds, we had a piggyback pump from one to another once we were able to drain Craig. So we had a series of pumps working, and it required a decent bit of staff to kind of keep those monitoring. So I wanted to see if got any.
Commissioner Smith, you want to go?
You want to start?
No.
So I have a lot of comments and a lot of thoughts. From Taryn, are we, anything else coming from staff as recommendations or ideas before we start talking, or? Okay.
No, not at this time. We did have the Department of Emergency Management out to do an assessment, and from what I understand, we did not qualify through that process, which was a little bit disconcerting.
I didn't hear what you said.
We did not qualify. We did not meet the criteria to get assistance from Department of Emergency Management at the state level. And as you heard Senator Harold discuss the FEMA money, we still need to circle back around and see where FEMA is on this as well.
Okay, so first and foremost, from my perspective, and I'm sure that all the four of us on today's commission meeting probably all have the same exact sort of feelings about all this. The hardest thing in the world to deal with at this level is to talk about someone's home and the disposition from all the stories that we've heard as to what to do and how to do it. Every one of the speakers sort of was in a position of, I can't wait for weeks and months to decide what we should do and where we should go. We hear you loud and clear. All of us do. I mean, and the stories are heartbreaking, and we absolutely have to do something today. On Friday, I asked our staff, to be prepared for this very conversation because maybe under normal circumstances, following, or going into an event like this, you'd still have the same kind of response, but tie on top of this, what we have been all as a country dealing with for the last 3 months, compounds this 100-fold and makes it even that much worse. There is absolutely, in my opinion, probably no room for error in any of your lives. There's nothing more that we could do to disrupt your world than what's currently existing. I wish we had all the 11. Do we have? I doubt that we have all 11 homeowners here.
No, some are on Zoom, but we don't have them all.
I don't know if anybody has collected a list or sort of a question or a survey from you all as to what your preference would be at this point. I can share with you in Jensen, over an 8-year period of time, we had some catastrophic flooding events like this in Jensen. It took 7 or 8 projects, close to 8 or 9 years, and probably close to $8 million to fix the problems. In this current rain event, and you saw on the screen, we had 22 inches up in Jensen. I had 0 flooding in those neighborhoods that we did that $8 million fix over an 8-year period of time. You all don't have 8 years. You don't have months. In my listening to you all, And so I think coming out of today's meeting, our board needs to make a decision today. It would be, and maybe we can't make it today, but maybe we can give direction to our staff to understand, I think, what you all want to do, meaning the 11 affected homes. My sense of this, it's not as if we can't fix the problem. I have no doubt with our stormwater team, the South Florida Water Management, the state, we can figure out how to fix the problem, but it will probably take years to do, and a whole lot of money, and you do not have that time. My gut reaction is, and this is the hardest part of this conversation, is that probably getting you out of there is the smartest thing we could all do. Because I don't know that in the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years, we won't have another event. And I just can't imagine, with all of the brilliance and talent that this county has to fix this, and the state has at our resource, it's not something that will happen in a year. It will take years to fix, and you all don't have years. So my thoughts, Mr. Chairman, are that we figure out a way to buy them out. And if that is what they're inclined to do, I suspect that you could elevate the homes and do some sort of an interim fix like that. But that won't stop having 4 feet of water in your neighborhood the next major event that we have. That will prevent your house, your belongings, and everything that you have from going underwater, but it won't solve the problem. It will elevate you and get you up out of the issue that's been created. So I'm perfectly prepared to do whatever it takes to figure out how we come up with a finance plan to do this and do it very quickly, and see if there's something we can do to within weeks, days, weeks, to move you out of there if that's your inclination. And I know you have poured your hearts in listening to your stories, to your homes. I just can't sit here and tell you, I can guarantee you that we can fix the problem in some short order of time, that if you all go back and put your heart, sweat, and tears back into the home, that it's not going to happen again and we won't find ourselves here again. And I don't want you to have to go through that. There's nothing good that comes from that. So that's where I'm at, Mr. Chair.
Is that a motion?
Yes. But if you want, I would much more succinctly
And we might tighten it up.
spell that out for you, Mary Kay. That we direct staff to come back to us at our next available meeting. So if that's our hurricane meeting or if that's the next commission meeting, with a finance option that we identify, whether it's the 11 homes, the 9 homes, however that number plays itself out. And that we approach the homeowners with a plan to purchase out the homes that have been affected directly through this storm in that neighborhood.
Thank you. Commissioner Hurd, would you like to hear from Commissioner Jenkins first, or would you like to go first?
I'd just like to make some comments first.
Ma'am.
I can't emphasize enough that the importance of noting that we received in 13 days half of our annual rainfall. So it was catastrophic system-wide. And when you push water away from some place, it's going to go to another place. So it was a county-wide stormwater management problem. And I know that there are a lot of criticisms about our Public Works Department not doing enough. And I want everyone to have confidence. Our Public Works Department did everything they possibly could in order to protect residences. They worked 24 hours a day trying to manage stormwater that no one could possibly have managed. That's no reassurance for the people whose homes are flooded, but I just want you to give you confidence that they're very capable and very concerned, and always your safety was their only concern. So now, what we need to do immediately is to make sure. First, we have to create a point of contact for someone in Martin County. We need to find rental aid for those who need rental aid. We need to determine what kind of aid the state is willing and able to provide to us because they have to, and we have to find out what kind of federal aid is available to us, because it's going to take, as Commissioner Smith said, this is going to be a multi-million-dollar fix. So we've got to, we're going to have partners, and we're going to have to double down on our federal legislators and our state legislators in order to provide short and long-term fixes. But the first thing is we need to next step for the homeless people from Hobe Sound and provide rental aid or whatever so that these people have a home for the foreseeable future and a way forward.
And Ed, before you go to Harold, just to
Yes,
tag
sir.
on to that, Harold, just 1 second if it's okay. He's like, sure. The sense of urgency is what we have to leave the room with today. Most of the speakers came forward and said, I don't have time. And so the decision tree, Sarah, I agree, from the state and the federal, we need to do everything we can do to get them to partner. But I want the residents to leave here today knowing that within the next week, plus or minus, from their local government, you will have a direction that asks you, are you willing to be purchased out? Do you understand, is that something that you all can try to come to grips with, and as hard as that decision is to make? And then we need concurrence on that. We need to get that point of person or the point of contact person to keep that system organized. But we as a county need to move forward, I think, as quickly as possible. And if Gail, you're still on the line and working with Toby and Mary Lynn, as long as she's still in office, we need the state's support to help us in this process. But I think the county has to take the lead because we are the closest to our residents to make sure that the most immediacy is accomplished.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins, you are the district commissioner. We're going to follow your advice.
So I do know, I'll add to that Brian Mast is going back to Washington today. And if anybody knows Brian Mast, he's full speed ahead. So we're going to get some feedback from him, I'm sure, directly, hopefully by next Friday, when we come back. But this problem has existed for a long time, obviously not to this level with the amount of rainfall we have. The solutions I've heard, 30-inch pump, $3 million, may or may not be able to be fully utilized, impacting other neighborhoods. That doesn't sound like a permanent solution to me. I completely think that the county we should have some type of program where we can buy these most impacted homes out as quickly as possible and get these residents' lives back in order. I don't see any other choice, and we obviously have to do it in the most expeditious manner that we possibly can. So with that, I would like to second Commissioner Smith's motion.
Thank you very much. I think the key, or do you want to say something, Mr. Zama? I think the key to this is that we create, and I think all of my colleagues have said the same thing, the affected residents need to have a single point of contact within the county. They need, and Commissioner Jenkins, maybe you can appoint that person, work with Ms. Krista to find out who that is, someone that can work across the departments. This is a multi-departmental issue. And I agree with what Commissioner Smith said, but I want to put my point that it's very easy for us to say, we need to buy your home. And there was the mom who spoke for her daughter who that might not want to be an option. What we need to do is, and we're not going to solve it at the commission meeting, we need to get you folks into a room or to collectively, if you prefer, or individually, and hear from the people to lay out your options. Maybe if you can't live in your exact home in Hobe Heights, maybe you can live in the Hobe Heights neighborhood. Or if you can move, there are some other areas and options. But if I put myself in your shoes, I don't know if I invest additional funds rebuilding my home to always wonder when it starts to rain how much rain is coming. And I agree with what Commissioner Hurd said. Our staff has done a remarkable job, and the circumstances were horrific. And I get that when the water's coming up towards your front door, you want 100 people on the street. You saw that picture where that gentleman put a mask on and swam underneath that filthy water to adjust that pump. And our staff that doesn't normally work 24-hour shifts did. And Saturday and Sunday, and remember, they were dealing with issues of, we heard people from Point Siena Gardens and other areas in Palm City, all the districts. So I think that should help you understand that even if all of the resources at the county are available to you, this still could happen. So you're going to have, sadly, to make some very difficult decisions, but Commissioner Smith made a motion, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins, for immediate action to create a plan from the county, and we'll figure out how to get state and federal assistance after the fact, to immediately assist you. Are you clear with the motion, Mary Kay? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Hetherington absent. Thank you very much. Let's take a 10-minute break for our closed captioning, folks, and we will come back to discuss. Do you have?
Commissioner, if we can come back so I can finish Department 5 public comment, that'd be great.
Very well. We'll take the remaining public comments for this issue, even though I think we've worked it pretty well. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Thank you. seats. We are coming back from our mid-morning closed captioning break, and we are continuing with our June 16th, 2020 Board of County Commissioners meeting. We had just heard an issue regarding the Hobe Heights and the Hobe Sound general area, some flooding. But before we went to the break, Mr. Stokas said that there were some comments on the agenda item that we were having that came in through email. And Mr. Stokas, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll go as quick and brief as I can. First comment is from Jade Stanton. Long-term drainage solutions and incentivizing flood insurance for those areas is what we want our government to take action on and share community resources for flood recovery instead of government resources which we can't afford to wait on. And the next comment, which one is it from, John? Oh, it's it? Okay, good. Next comment is from Chrysola Trocus. I'm reaching out in the hopes that you can help myself and hundreds of other residents out here in Palm City Farms. I'm a resident of Palm City Farms for the past 19 years, a native born and raised in Martin County. As I am sure you already are well aware, the drainage out here is an ongoing problem, especially after unprecedented and significant amount of rainfall we have recently received. I have recently been made aware that that Palm City Farm stormwater modeling study being completed by Singhofen and Associates for $736,176. As you can imagine, I was shocked to hear of such a large expenditure, which with absolutely no notice to any property owners out here in Palm City Farms. That we have been requesting the county to investigate the drainage issues out here for years. I do have a copy of the 36-page agreement between they're called SAI, and I can see that our neighborhood is included in the study as we drain through Danforth Creek Basin. There's a large number of residents that are being negatively impacted by poor drainage, continued intentional filling, blocking of county main and secondary ditches by property owners, and even incorrectly sized culvert pipes. As a resident of Martin County, I was disappointed to not have seen one county employee out and about in our Palm City Farms area checking and clearing clogged drains as a result of ditch chipping that occurred. Instead, ourselves along with neighbors were out there with hand tools doing our best to clear the clogged drains and keep the flow of water moving along. The constant ditch chipping is not helping. The lack of depth of these ditches that have not been dug out since the neighborhoods were first established, only removing privacy between neighbors, clogging the culverts and leaving behind huge damage to the shoulders of the road. When the big excavator enters and exits the ditches, in the years past, the county would always come over and repair this damage. Now it's left to the property owners that abut the drainage canals to repair at their own expense. I tried reaching out to Mr. Gorton with nothing short of a dismal reply scooting me over to the public records liaison for a public records request. I asked for a further explanation of the study. When will property owners be notified of the study? When are results expected? What is the county hoping to get out of the study? How will property owners benefit from this expensive study? Will any work be done as a result? I would like to know when the public outreach portion of the study will commence that has yet to be completed to COVID-19 delays. Will this study sit in a pile of other studies somewhere in the county offices? Thank you for your time in reading this email. I look forward to hearing more about how this very expensive Palm City Farms stormwater modeling study will benefit the property owners out here in Palm City Farms. Next one is from Philip Quick. In the recent past, I spoke with you to try to get you to make sure our Martin County Stormwater Division increases their much-needed maintenance of our stormwater tributaries in Palm City Farms. I've had several sit-down meetings with Don Donaldson and Jim Gorton, only to be advised by them excuses why they can't maintain tributaries as they should. They run through private properties, and we don't maintain private ditches. I advise them that these ditches, except for those dug by the homeowners in the tributaries, are mostly all on private property, which was known by the property owners when they purchased the properties, and what the tributaries' purpose was. They were dug way back whenever, by whoever, for the purpose of shedding the stormwater runoff, and in the past they had been maintained by the county. They have drastically eliminated that maintenance by excusing it off to this private property claim. I advise them and your legal department that the county owns the prescriptive rights to these tributaries because they are performed maintenance on them within the past 20 years and legal has concurred. We have a neighbor that put a canoe in at Danforth at the end of Moore Street and took it east towards Citrus Boulevard, only to find blockages with pepper trees and very substantial blockages of CBS concrete blocks, concrete bags, and intentional narrowing of Danforth from the average of 25-foot width and 6-foot depth in the rainy season to approximately 7-foot wide and 1 foot deep now. He couldn't travel down the ditch any further. This particular landowner is impeding the flow of stormwater and needs our code enforcement to pay a visit and have it taken care of immediately. Why would we, as tax-paying property owners, have to take matters into our own hands when things of this nature is the job of our stormwater drainage department? I found out today that our commissioners agreed to pay for a private entity to do a study on a drainage system to the tune of $740,000. In my last meeting with Jim Gordon, I was told they were spending $60,000 for a proposed stormwater study. I advised him that I wanted myself and everybody else in attendance, a long-time property owners with vast historical knowledge, to be part of the proposed study to provide our input for implementation takes place. How and why go through these taxpayers' expense when stuff like this, and I can assure you there's many more, we can be found using a simple canoe. This is not rocket science, just incompetence. Lastly, for now, the retention pond off Layton Farms Road is placed in the middle of the Danforth, and every bit of water exits through a tiny 4-foot fixed weir, severely backing up all the waterfall on Palm City Farms. A total design disaster. We'd appreciate your quick assistance with all this, please. Next comment is from Rocco Cavo. Sorry, I already read that comment. Next comment is from Wilfredo Montez. Commissioners, make developers respect wetlands. Next comment, Randy Lewis. Martin County needs to address the current issue of flooding. I live in Palm City Farms, and out here the county has a history of neglecting their responsibilities as well as not enforcing their own codes and statutes. I believe the county should also place a moratorium on building until they can get a handle of the current problems and enforcement. I have complained for years and have proved that the county is ill-equipped at dealing with the current issues. Until the county is able to maintain drainage and enforce code, they need a moratorium on building so they can serve residents. Next comment, Brian Sarandrea. The comment made by one of the county commissioners and quoted by the new local newspaper regarding the flooding of Hope Heights has prompted this response. I write this in the hopes that you will consider this during your discussion of the situation of Hope Heights at today's meeting. The comment made was in effect that the landlords in Hope Heights neighborhoods are renting flood-prone properties to tenants without proper warning. Our company has been in business since December of 2013. In fact, the two duplexes, 4 rental units which flooded, were our first acquisition. When we acquired these units, we had no idea we were acquiring property prone to flooding. In fact, Martin County provides only the FEMA flood information, which shows these properties as flood zone X, a safe zone not requiring flood insurance. How is this possible? The county works public director also reported to the press in response to the recent flooding that he saw this kind of flooding in 1994. Where is the responsibility of the county in making this information available to possible home buyers and or investors? My partner and I are not slumlords, as we have been labeled since this commissioner's comment to the press. We spent over $100,000 renovating these units to make them nice places to live. A new roof on one building, new windows in both buildings, new ceiling textures, new kitchens, new air conditioning, new wood trim, soffits, new bathroom vanities, and tile floors throughout. Before the flood, these were very nice places offered a fair rental rate. The flood has trashed the retirement, not to mention the time investment of my partner and I. I feel for the single-family property owners who were affected by this flood. I also feel for the tenants who had to vacate the property due to the flood. We did not create the flood, nor did we ask for the flood. If we had known the properties were flood-prone, we would have flood insurance and insisted that our tenants had the same. Martin County, on the other hand, knew this flood was just a matter of time. With no notification to property owners and residents of probable flooding, keeping their knowledge of prior flooding to themselves is inexcusable. It is time for Martin County to do something about this. Property in the flood area should be purchased to increase flood water retention. There is no reason to let these property owners spend money to fix damages only to have it happen again. Buy the property now before additional funds are wasted. This will provide additional storage capacity to prevent flooding of other property in the future. As a property owner, one of our options is to razz our buildings. This action will reduce retention area and our neighbors will flood next time. This is unreasonable. Martin County is shown it can find funds to pay lawyers' fees for commissioners' malfeasance and to fight train right-of-ways. It's time to quit saying you can find money for local emergency situations only if the state or federal government provides it. Brian Sandera, Manager, Live Oak Property Management.
Time's up.
Next comment, Jonathan Earhart. We need to address flooding of the road on Orange Blossom Trail in Point Siena Gardens in Hobe Sound, Florida. I have called the county, emailed, sent pictures, have not received any input on why my road is now underwater every time it rains. We need answers. I have lived here for 5 years. The lot next to me has been filled in. I think this is the main cause. The back drainage ditch behind my property is pretty filled in also. But most of the water from the road used to flow off the road through my yard into the property beside my house at 6114 Southeast Orange Blossom Trail. We need to figure out where to send this runoff of the neighbor's property, which used to hold excess runoff, is now completely filled in. I would love to show any county official, have them bring a level or a theodolite, and they will see the big difference in elevation on the lot next to me that held a large amount of water after these storms. Pull up the Martin County Property Appraiser site, and as you can see, topographic maps showing the property is very low-lying wetland. It is now filled in, so that water needs somewhere to go. And my house flooding and the road flooding is not a solution I'm willing to live with. And Mr. Chair, that's all the public comment we have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stokas. To wrap up that issue, we did receive some comments where people were asking what they could do to assist some of the people that were impacted with the flooding. I know that 25 United has a Facebook page that has sort of been consolidating some of the different efforts. Sometimes people donating things that are not needed or helpful defeats the purpose. So 25 United has a Facebook page. I also know that Elevate Hope has been down there helping as well. So those are two on-the-ground organizations, as well as any of your other charitable organizations that you would want to specifically mention that you'd want it to go towards helping them. Okay, we'll start with Commissioner comments, and we'll start with you, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make it quick because we're probably way behind today. I think on all these flooding requests this morning, I think Point Siena Gardens that we've heard about a couple times this morning, clearly, Taryn, when we get the opportunity to get sort of a better update as to the individual neighborhoods and where we have been, where we're headed, so that residents can have sort of an update as to what we're planning to do. I know that in Ed's district, we've been having conversations for decades over the drainage system or lack thereof out in Western Palm City. So it'd be probably good to get an update as to where we are, reference to the study and the information that was presented by the public. Hopefully we will very shortly have a response to this morning's conversation with Hobe Sound. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins.
So I just want to let everybody know that this conversation is not going away, not just for Hope Heights, but for Hope Hills, for Point Siena Gardens and all the other, and especially along Gomez on Sandcastle. That's got a complicated answer to that question. So I am fully, this is kind of up my alley. I am fully engulfed in this, and this conversation will not die until we get some real results. Mr. Campy, if you could help me out, just to let you know my current digital situation here. I have a black screen on my iPad that I'm using to Zoom, so I'm not seeing any of the presenters. On one side, I have one of my desktop screens. I have the MCTV feed, which seems to be about 2 minutes behind, and then I have my agenda on my desktop screen on to the right. So if you would ask the presenters when they're going through and changing page numbers to actually let me verbally tell me what the page number is so I can get to it. So I don't see any of the presenting in real time like y'all are doing on your computer screen stuff.
Yes, sir. Yesterday during the MPO meeting, I was having a similar issue. When you are listening on the telephone, like we called in, some of us, but then I was watching the visual portion on the county's website, and there was not like a 10-second, it was minutes delay, and I get that. So Mr. Merker is here, Commissioner Jenkins, so I think the reason you're not seeing anything on Zoom is there's nothing currently to see on Zoom.
Well, I think, Commissioner Jenkins, if you were to look, if you're on a computer, if you look in
Get
the upper,
closer to the
if you
microphone.
look in the upper right corner, toward the right corner of the screen, upper right, you should see a control there that says switch to gallery view, or gallery view as opposed to active speaker view.
Yeah.
That should give you tiles, and that should enable you to see all the presentations and all the speakers. Did that work for you, sir?
Okay.
Very
Well, that was easy. I just did it. Yeah. I can see Commissioner Campy right now. Okay.
Yeah, but do you want to?
That's hurtful. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, first of all, Commissioner Jenkins, I hope that you can work with staff and figure out a point of contact with Martin County immediately. That's going to be the first critical thing that you do, and all will proceed from there. And also, I want us to be mindful that let's not overpromise, because then we run the danger of under-delivering. So let's be cautious about what we can achieve and when we can achieve it. And Poinciana Gardens, Commissioner Smith can verify this. Poinciana Gardens historically has had poor drainage, and the county has built a couple stormwater treatment areas in there. And also several years ago, we bought a bunch of property in there in order to provide additional drainage. Those were platted lots that could have been built upon, and we knew that that would just exacerbate the flooding in Poinciana Gardens. So we have been trying to create solutions in Poinciana Gardens for at least 20 years, probably 30 years. And also one more thing, Commissioners, I'm sure that you all received dozens of requests from residents to improve the intersection of Cove and Canner. And residents suggested to us strongly that there should be a dedicated right-hand turn lane westbound and 2 dedicated left turn lanes in advance of the widening of Cove Road in a couple years, 2025 maybe. And it's an excellent idea because that intersection is already over capacity. Whatever we can do in order, we're going to do the project, whatever we can do to speed up the improvements at that intersection, particularly 1 dedicated right-hand turn lane and 2 lefts, I certainly would appreciate all the help that we can get in order to expedite that project.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, if it's okay, Mr. Chair, just 2 follow-up comments. One, consistent sort of with the water discussion this morning, I think with the massive amount of rain that we did have and the runoff that we were experiencing, and clearly the lagoon has significantly changed. I think it would be helpful for Mr. Mayle to come in next commission meeting and give us kind of an update as to what's going on, where is water going and coming in the grand picture of things, because clearly it has had a dramatic impact on the estuary and on the river, and I think it'd just be good for everybody to understand where we're at with
When you
that.
say next meeting, Commissioner, just so we can be clear, are you looking for this Wednesday during your special, this Friday during your special meeting?
No, next commission meeting.
Okay, perfect.
To give him time to pull the data together and how much has been discharged out of our basin, what's going on with the canal and so on, and all the other SDA stuff in the county. This thing, Ed, back to your senior staff or the point of person, contact person, I think it should absolutely be one of the senior staff that has decision-making capability, Ed or Sarah, whoever was asking for that, or Ed, or Harold, rather, I'm sorry. I think someone that can speak on your behalf, if it's not you, whether it's Dawn or it's George or whoever, I just think it ought to be at that level of contact point that we're getting direct answers. We're not filtering it through multiple staff layers to get to a final decision on the Hobe flooding issue.
Okay.
And that's it. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Just as an aside suggestion to what Commissioner Smith just said, I understand the value of having someone very senior and high up the ladder, but then I think there should be someone coordinating with them so that if there is questions from homeowners, because even just during the break, several of us fielded several questions, very legitimate questions from residents that are there. Maybe there's the senior level and then someone with them that can be the person that can answer phone calls from different people, every day or whatever, because that's not going to be able to be Mr. Stokas or Mr. Donaldson, but maybe in collaboration with. I'm sure our staff will figure it out. I'm going to defer my comments. Ms. Krista?
None for me, sir.
And then I know that Ms. Woods, normally we just sort of work administrator attorney, but we have tasked you two things since the last meeting with some direction on the use of facial coverings. And secondly, if you could take them in this one first. We had a conversation a couple of meetings ago. I had mentioned some details of our lease agreement with the Martin County Fair Association. I know that you and your staff has worked with the individuals from representing the fair. Can you give us an update on that, please, first?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So our staff met internally and tried to come up with a way to meet the needs of the fair as they expressed it. And we have this proposed solution has been communicated to the fair, and they agree with it. And what we believe is, first of all, the fair had asked for an extension on the option of lease, which is set to expire in November of this year. We recommend that the board extend the term of the option for 4 years till 2024, and also which would extend the financial certification from September of 2020 till September 16th of 2024, and authorize the chair to sign extension language that we've approved. It's important to note that none of us know what the current COVID and other situations are before us, so this doesn't mean to say that they're asking for 4 more years. It just gives them that option. They can certainly, the way the option reads, come in at any time once they're ready to get the lease and they have their money. It has that ability to go ahead and have that done. So that is my first recommendation.
Thank you. If you could hold. That doesn't the information that you just gave us doesn't mean that a couple of weeks ago when we voted to allow them to have their fair, the 2021 fair at their existing location in Stewart. This doesn't give them beyond that time frame. My goal is to still ask them to, really focus their attention on moving the fair west. This is a separate entity from that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I would entertain a motion to Ms. Woods' comments. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, two things. Sarah, can you move the mic just a little bit closer? Yep. That'll help just a little bit now that can you start all over again? No. I'll make that motion, and I guess just for clarity on where the fair will be held and when it will be held. So 2021, presumably, we will have the fair at the fairgrounds. That's what we did last week or 2 weeks ago.
I believe that's what you did at the last meeting.
And so we will be prepared with this extension or the ability to have this extension if they come back to us. That'll be so if 2022 comes around and they haven't been able to get or hit their milestone, we will have some kind of kickoff point or jump off point that we will have to address that again, I would assume.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
As a separate item to this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I would move the recommendation.
Thank you. Commissioner Hurd?
Second.
Yeah, how did you come up with 4 years?
My reluctance, and in talking it over, as staff decided, was that to just do a year, we could be coming back where they might need 18 months. So it's an option. There's no penalty to come in earlier. So we did what was originally given to them, and the idea was that it would give them enough time so that they'd have I don't want to say wiggle room. They would have ample time to raise their funds, do their kickoff, and exercise the lease. I didn't want to guess on exactly how long they needed, and it seemed counterproductive to keep bringing it back if, depending on what happens in the state of Florida and the United States right now.
I just don't think there's much incentive for them to move quickly and do the things that are contractually required for them to do if they have 4 years to get to the finish line. I mean, Martin County is giving them a big gift, and they need to perform in order to get that donation of that great big gift, because it's an enormous gift that they've been given.
Commissioner Hurd, if I might, I don't disagree. The Fair Association is actually looking for the opposite. They're trying to move as quickly as possible. The reason we made the change today is they've had a couple of, the COVID crisis has worked for many as a detriment. Believe it or not, for the folks at the fair, they've had some contractors, some earth-moving people, some other folks that are working, in that general vicinity. Even some of them are contractors from the C-44 project that have been sort of delayed in what they're doing. And so they've offered to donate some of their services, but they can't move forward on those things until we've ironed out some of the wrinkles in the contract. They're not legally allowed to be on the property. Our stick, if you will, from the carrot and the stick analogy, would be that we've only agreed to allow them to be in the Stewart Fair location for 2021. That's where we can really regulate and push them, because I took their request for moving to 2021. I would not have agreed to that had it not been for this unique set of circumstances with the pandemic. I expect them to move out there as quickly as possible, simply because once they're off the fairground property, then it becomes back to being our valuable piece of property. Their lease could leave them out there for another 7 years, correct?
I believe so.
Approximately. Yeah. Last year was 8, so approximately 7 years. So I'm with you. I expect them to move out to the fairground location as quickly as possible. Yes, ma'am.
You said that there's some stalled C-44 contractors who are willing to do work there. Who's paying for them to do the work at the?
No, they are volunteering some of their equipment and manpower. No one's paying them. They have someone else.
The taxpayers are paying the C-44 contractors.
No, I'm not saying, if I misrepresented that, I apologize to you. I'm not saying that the project is stalled. When I had a conversation with their fair manager, Mr. Spicer, he said that they had some opportunities from contractors. So before I craft a situation on what is exactly happening out there, we can hear back. I'll have him contact you to tell you. It wasn't a matter of, hey, they should be working on something and they're not. They had 2 things. I can't remember the second one. There was 2 opportunities.
There's our understanding in talking with the Fair Association, there's an opportunity to get fill from the South Florida Water Management Project, and it may be for them to put some of the fill, if you will, onto the property. And then there was also a opportunity from a nearby contractor to do some
clearing,
to do some tree removal and some site work that would be done. And that was the next item that I was leading into. So to address these limited opportunities that the Fair Association has, again, staff met. What our recommendation is and what we've communicated with the Fair is the Fair Association must submit an excavation and fill permit application, which would show the desired clearing and filling activities and would require environmental review for species and vegetative They have, is my understanding, Joe Capra is their engineer. He is well-versed in how to pull this permit. And then our request as staff is that once the permit is ready to be issued, we would request board authorization for the county to grant the Fair Association a limited right of entry, and that would be signed typically by the county administrator. The county attorney's office would draft that limited right of entry, which would be reflect what activities were being allowed by the excavation and fill permit, and then we would allow them, that would allow them access to the property so that they could do that which was permitted. And that, I think, allows the fair to take advantage of some, as I understood it, pretty much free opportunities to improve the property.
Correct. Commissioner Hurd.
And what kind of liability does the county have, because we're the landowners?
As part of the limited right of access, we would have them assume the liability.
Mr. Spicer was here most of the morning, but when we had the break, he had to depart. Okay, Commissioner Smith?
So the first part, there is a motion on the floor, correct?
Yes, I'm going to.
Can we vote on that one and then?
Do you need separate motions for the things that you mentioned, or do you want to bundle them, Ms.
If you'd
Woods?
like to bundle them, you can. It's whatever the chair and the rest of the board wants to do.
Then I would amend my motion to include the second portion of Sarah's recommendation.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins, were you able to hear the second portion of Mrs. Woods' recommendations?
Yes, and I agree. As a
Seconders
second.
agree. Mary Kay, are you okay with the motions as presented? Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept staff's recommendations in regards to the Martin County Fair grounds, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Hetherington absent. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, Ms. Woods, at our last meeting, we had tasked you with the burden of working with our legal department and other staff members to craft some guidance and language for us in regards to the wearing of face coverings. I had made a motion to discuss that anyone in the food service business industries in any capacity and any employer or employees that are working within close contact would have to be wearing face masks. You have crafted some language, you've done some research statewide. Can you give us a presentation on what you've come up with, please?
Certainly. I'll begin by saying I reached out to the Florida Association of Counties, and there are, I think it's Alachua, Broward, Osceola, Miami-Dade, Orange, and Palm Beach have facial covering resolutions or emergency orders. None of them specifically are limited to food service or restaurants. Some of them make it mandatory. My understanding from doing some research, because as I said before, enforcement of a mandatory face covering is problematic just from a law enforcement standpoint of catching it and finding it. But in general, I think I'm within bounds to say that none of the counties are taking active enforcement about this, or no one's certainly being convicted of a misdemeanor for not having their face coverings on. They really use it as a motivation. To our south, Palm Beach County has a face covering emergency order, but again, it's strongly encouraged. The only place where it's mandatory in Palm Beach is on Palm Tran and in governmental facilities. Some of the other ones, Alachua is a strongly encouraged, and it uses language like persons working in or visiting grocery stores, restaurants, in-store retail establishments, pharmacies, construction sites. I don't need to go to all of them. Sure. Okay. persons working in or visiting grocery stores, this is Alachua, restaurants, in-store retail establishments, pharmacies, construction sites, public transit vehicles, vehicles for hire, along with locations where social distancing measures are not required. Broward just lists the requirement just to essential services. Osceola is fairly broad, and it references back the CDC guidelines, and Miami-Dade as well is fairly broad. What I've put up on the screen for you, and I've also distributed it to each of you yesterday, and we have copies in the back for those that are in the audience, is, and it's up to the board. Do you want me to read all of this, or shall I just? A lot of it, the first page is pretty much the whereas clauses that we put in for all our emergency orders, which lays the kind of the groundwork for why we're in a state of emergency. The ones that are that relate most to this proposed emergency order is a reference to the reopening efforts under the COVID process, and then that I've got, whereas the Cleveland Clinic and doctors in our community have expressed grave concern that over the past month, hospital admittance for COVID-19 has had a significant increase, and that admittance numbers have been doubling over the course of 2-week intervals. CDC and Florida Department of Health continue to remind residents that by wearing a face covering, the resident protects others from exposure as well as themselves, whereas the CDC and Cleveland Clinic have recommended that all persons wear face coverings while in public to help control the spread of COVID-19, and whereas Martin County needs to take additional steps to minimize the spread of COVID-19 in response to the recent spike in positive COVID-19 cases and hospital admittances. This is where I've given you 2 options, which was consistent to my board direction. The last one is, whereas Martin County believes that requiring green in this draft, green being the most restrictive, the mandatory, it's purple or fuchsia in your, depending on what copy you're looking at. The other option would be strongly encouraging individuals serving the public to wear cloth face coverings will significantly help to reduce the spread and lessen the positive cases. The first section after the whereas clauses provides that all persons working in restaurants, grocery stores, food service, any retail establishments, businesses open to the public, or other locations, any locations visited by the public where social distancing is not possible within unincorporated or incorporated Martin County. And then again, your options, shall being the most restrictive, the mandatory, or are strongly encouraged to wear face coverings. Number 2, all persons physically present in any public place in Martin County are strongly encouraged to wear face coverings. Paragraph 3, a face covering includes any covering which snugly covers the nose and mouth, whether store-bought or homemade, which is secured in place. Persons who wear masks should review the CDC, Florida Department of Health guidelines regarding properly and safely applying, removing, and cleaning masks. These sections we removed from other counties that have face covering regulations. Number 4, medical and surgical masks, such as N95 masks and other similar medical surgical masks, should be reserved for healthcare personnel, police, firefighters, emergency management, and other first responders engaged in life safety activities. Paragraph 5, a mask shall not be required for persons who have trouble breathing due to a chronic pre-existing condition. And then thereafter are just the standard provisions that we put into all our emergency orders that refers whether or not it conflicts for something, and that it's entered into in supplement to any executive orders issued by the governor. And at that point, I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you very much for your work on that. We'll start with Commissioner Hurd.
Yes, at our Friday meeting, the fine physicians who attended our meeting, obviously after the meeting, communicated very effectively with their cohorts in the medical community, and we received an outpouring of strong recommendations from lots and lots of local doctors, and they were unequivocal in urging us to require that masks be worn in public. So my motion would be to use the stronger language of requiring. Yes.
And Commissioner, just as a function of how we did this, we have some other, you're using the stronger version. Does that include also using, it's also in purple or pink, there was some additional language about strongly encouraging and giving an exemption for people that had breathing problems.
I certainly think that the exception number 5 for the people who
Okay.
have breathing problems, I'd like to include that. I think that number 2, all other persons physically present in any public place in Martin County are strongly encouraged to wear face coverings. I would also like that to be the stronger language, or required to.
Are required?
I think that if we're requiring our workers to wear face masks, that we should be responsible and we should be wearing them also.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hurd for the more restrictive of the language. I'll chime in. Originally, having made the mention based on feedback that I had received, as I'm sure all of us have in the community a couple of weeks ago, and then I heard information back from our colleagues at the time. Commissioner Hurd is correct when obviously someone from Cleveland must have contacted their colleagues to discuss, presenting us with additional information. This has been a difficult decision-making process because we're all in uncharted territory, and we're all being bombarded with information, factual, emotional information at the federal level, at the state level, and here locally. I have, since most of this has started, had been utilizing for my own decision-making process the things that I had mentioned in the past, which was, prefacing the fact that I'm not a scientist, epidemiologist, medical professional, but I know lots of them and have had the opportunity to speak with many folks on both sides of this issue. When we asked the health department to come forward and give us their status, their stats, and they were basically, in the beginning, more of the secondary of the testing, and it was Cleveland Clinic was doing majority of the early testing. And I was using these statistics that how many people are in the hospital, how many people are in the ICU, and how many people sadly have passed away as sort of my indicator of what was happening here in our community. Because there was a lot of different ways that you could look at the testing numbers. And then there was a lot of different information out there on the validity of the testing numbers and the accuracy of the testing numbers. And, but our numbers were low then. And our numbers that on the indicators that I was thinking of, hospital, ICU, and fatalities, as Mr. Lord said to us on Friday, sort of sparking this conversation now, he was very concerned. I heard a public comment this morning that, Mr. Lord should stick to what he's responsible for reporting. I think he's done exactly what we've asked him to do, is come forward and not only tell us the numbers, he could send that to us on a sheet of paper, but to give us an indication of what's happening in his organization. And for the folks that don't know, Mr. Lord is the COO and president of Cleveland Clinic Martin Health. He's been a member of our community for decades. And he's not a medical professional, but obviously he supervises and works very closely with them. Last Friday, for the folks that might not have seen the meeting, a woman came forward, Dr. Weekly, who is the elected president of the medical group of all their medical professionals. And she very succinctly told us her opinion that we needed to move forward. Since then, I'm sure my colleagues, like I have received dozens and dozens of emails very adamantly suggesting that we move forward in a mask requirement. my own personal doctor, friends of mine that are doctors. Some of them had quoted or attached documentation and further research to assist us. But I've also received information and feedback from people that said, about their rights and what's happening here and both sides of the issue. There was a speaker this morning that took one of the comments that I had been thinking a lot about. When you hear about people's civil rights or their constitutional rights being violated, I had to think back to the days of when seatbelts were not mandatory. And a lot of people said, well, I'm not going to wear a seatbelt. They can't tell me. And I think, through a long process, also making it a law that seatbelts must be worn, that seatbelt is purely to save the life of the passengers and the driver of the car, personally. And so it's become, for I believe, a massive majority of the population that you get in the car and you automatically put on the seatbelt. Then there's been conversation about it's our responsibilities as humans and as members of our community, and it's just a matter of simple manners. Okay? And someone gave me the example that it is perfectly unacceptable if someone had to sneeze in public, to just openly and outwardly sneeze without making some attempt to cover their nose. I mean, we're raised to cover your nose when you're sneezing. Now, I remember that you used to cover with your hand, and now they have a new thing where you cover with your elbow. But this falls along the same lines for me, that you wouldn't sneeze in people's faces. Now, I was comfortable with how we were proceeding, because if you remember, I was talking for a long time about our physical health, our emotional health, and our financial health. And when the governor closed everything down, we closed everything down. That was his directive. But then he gave us some feedback and some leeway on how we would open up. He had his strategy, but gave some local governments some extra. And I apologize that I'm seeming long-winded, but I want people that are paying attention to understand, as one of the decision makers, what my mindset is in saying what I'm about to. Our numbers weren't so bad, but they've been climbing dramatically. We've opened up our businesses and our recreational activities and our things, and I was very insistent on doing that because I had heard from people that were financially struggling. And I also thought that we were creating a different health emergency, which was, attempted suicides and depression and domestic violence disputes and child abuse and drinking and addictions and all of those things. And I'm happy with the way that my colleagues and I have crafted our reopening strategy. But, like we've seen all over the state of Florida and in other countries, other states, I guess also countries, this strategy of opening up, I don't know if it correlates immediately with the increase in numbers, but our increase in numbers are not really up for debate anymore, and I'll give you some of the statistics that I have. As of yesterday, we've had 1,218 positive cases. Now, a lot of them can be asymptomatic and not appearing in the hospital. But we've also had, when Mr. Lord was here on Friday, he said that we had gone from 11 to 22 to 44. Yesterday, I received a number that we were up to 55 in the hospital and 18 fatalities. We were having just about one per day. And then in the last week, so today's Tuesday, from last Tuesday to today, we've had 305 additional positive cases in 1 week. So here you have some of the statistics. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so let's compare ourselves to our neighbors to the north. St. Lucie County has a population of approximately 330,000 residents. And Indian River County is quite often mirrored us, similar population to ours of about 160,000. We're 162,000. As of yesterday, Indian River had 190 positive cases to our 1,218. St. Lucie County, which is, like I said, approximately double us, is 915 positive cases. They have 136 people that have been in the hospital. We've had 119. And Indian River County has had 37, and that's a cumulative number. St. Lucie County has had 36 deaths. Indian River has had 11, and we're at 18. So if you look at our positive count, it is higher than St. Lucie and Indian River combined. Now, I started to try to figure out why is that? Okay, well, I was thinking that if you live in Indian River County, you probably, not everybody, but you probably don't commute to Palm Beach County or further south into Broward. But if you live in Martin County, I believe we have a lot of our residents that commute down to our counties to the south where they've had a lot more cases. Then you look at the percentages of positive. That's another number that's important. Doesn't make a difference how many people that you're testing. If you test 1,000, what's the percentage? And I read in TC Palm that Indian River's positive percentage was in the high 2s, and it recently went to the low 3s. And if you look at ours on this chart right here, as of yesterday, ours is 9.6. So now I am all about allowing our businesses to open and employ and continue to support the economy. And I've had family members and friends caution me on where we stand with this. And I want to be on the right side of these numbers. Now, Mr. Lord will come back on Friday because we also changed our policy where we're not going to meet, every 2 weeks. We're going to meet weekly. And I'm not interested at this time in doing any kind of rollbacks on some of the things that we've opened up. After the meeting on Friday, when I was walking out with Ms. Krista and Ms. Woods, discussing with them the concept of, in my mind, strongly recommending people wear masks in the categories of employees and owners. I was concerned that some businesses would take offense, and this has become, I don't want to say it's a Democratic versus Republican issue, but it has definitely become a divided issue where some people think masks, as we heard in the comments this morning, some people were saying everything's perfect and there's no reason the masks don't work. But every medical professional that I've heard from has said we need at least the masks. So I start thinking of really what's the issue? Okay, you have the basic little mask that's domed that people can wear. You have the purchased surgical kind of throwaway mask. There are the county issued to all of their employees, these buffs, if you will. They're sort of like turtlenecks you pull over. And they've been, have been branded. Some people are wearing bandanas. Some people are wearing homemade masks that are sewn together. So there are options. It's not like there's not an option. And so my vision, and I mentioned it to Ms. Woods, and I appreciate that you worked on it. However, rightfully so, as our attorney, you were accurate in saying that that was not the direction of the board that we gave you. That was something that I had mentioned to you after the fact. So I have what I'd like to see, at least for the time being, hopefully, is an alternative to the restrictive everyone must wear a mask. Now, Commissioner Hurd's motion was not only employees and business owners, but everyone. Am I correct, Commissioner?
Yes.
Everyone, similar to Indiantown and similar to other locales. I'm not prepared at this particular point to go to everyone wearing a mask. But based on the numbers, I thought it was appropriate that we create what I was thinking is a strongly recommend for employees working inside and the language that Ms. Woods had given us. However, one of the things Commissioner Jenkins had mentioned is that, look, and people that are reasonable can disagree on this. Even our colleagues are probably struggling to understand where do they want to stake a position on this. I thought that if there were establishments that chose not to abide by our strong recommendation of masks, that they be required to post a sign, a visible sign outside of each of their entrances. And there are some criteria so that you can't skirt it. It can't be, microscopic font or posted on the ceiling or somewhere where customers and patrons couldn't see it. A sign that would say, this establishment does not require its employees to wear face coverings as encouraged by Martin County Emergency Order 20-11. That would allow individuals, before they enter these establishments, to vote with their feet. Before you get into a restaurant and you sit down and you order your food and the person that brings it to you is not wearing a mask, the concept for most of us of standing up and leaving is not really a viable option. But if there's a restaurant that feels that their employees don't want to wear a mask, and they don't think it's appropriate that their people wear masks, and their customer base is comfortable with that, then you would have to state that outside ahead of time, so that people who are concerned would have the ability to boycott or avoid your business. Now, if the numbers continue like they did last week in a very, very strong surge in all the wrong directions, then I think what Commissioner Hurd is recommending would be the next logical step. What I'd like to do is a measured approach to that, and strongly urge, which, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Woods, you said all of the other municipalities, that's the level that they're at, correct?
No, sir.
What did I miss? Who is having required?
I believe Miami-Dade, Broward, at some point, if memory serves, Seminole County may have a requirement.
But they got sued.
Yeah, they did get sued. Orange County has some level of mandatory
Okay,
to it.
so but
then
out of the
there's other
67 counties, you're saying that the ones that were requiring it, Miami-Dade and Broward, which are the largest
was back in
hotspots.
Yes, sir.
Correct, in April, and the largest hotspots. Now, Ms. Krista just mentioned something to you that I don't know if the people at home got to hear. Seminole County had passed a requirement similar to what Commissioner Hurd just mentioned, a full requirement, and what happened there?
They, according to the news, we did when we were doing our research Friday and yesterday, a local business owner filed a lawsuit against, and I have not seen the complaint, but they were sued.
Okay, so
on
felt
some,
that
I don't
that
know what the legal basis
Okay,
was.
it was too restrictive, and they were sued.
That's
That what
our
you're saying?
understanding.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's, it
So
was in the news.
Those are the things that are weighing on my decision-making today. I'm not afraid to step up and be a leader. Our voters that put us in office require that of us. I think that the comments that struck me the most were the health professionals that said they are putting their lives on the line to protect us. And when I say protect us, I mean literally save our lives, keep us from dying. They have also put their families in jeopardy because they are with these people that are in the hospital and then have to either go home, and we heard what they said, some don't go home to their families, some wash their, change out of their clothes in the garage and steer clear of the families. I have to take that into consideration. My final point before I make a substitute motion is this. At the very least, what difference does it make if we ask our residents to wear masks? It is a simple suggestion. And if we find out in the future that wearing masks didn't really deter, what harm have we done? Versus the opposite. If we don't do anything today, upon all of the strong recommendations of every medical professional that I've come across, and I decide to do nothing, that the consequences of that action or inaction is a matter of life and death for some. And I don't think we are willing to spare a single person. So I would make a substitute motion that we use the language that Ms. Woods had in her proposed Emergency Order 20-11, that we strongly urge all employees and business owners to have their employees, while actively working, wear face coverings. And in the other language that you included, that is other employees where practical social distancing is not possible that they would also wear masks. I would include language number 5 that said if you have a existing or a medical condition that does not, allow you to wear a mask, so be it. There is always the possibility that people will take advantage of that as a loophole, but I think, again, trying to factor in our residents' health, this is the next appropriate logical step. And we mandate or require, whatever the proper legal language is, signs be posted at all entrances that say this establishment does not require its employees to wear face coverings as encouraged by Martin County Emergency Order 2011. This is not an actual sign, it's just a mock-up. I would request that our staff put up the proper language and any other guidelines in terms of font size for that sign to be put up. And what I would tell our residents, let's do this for a week and see if it has a positive response in helping us bring our numbers down. We cannot, as a community, afford to have another week of increases like we saw this week and sit idly by and do nothing. I think this is a reasonable next approach. I hope some of my colleagues will agree. Ms. Woods?
I just had a point of clarification. In the draft that I provided you, there was a second paragraph that said, all other persons physically present in any public place in Martin County are strongly urged to wear face coverings. That's everybody. That we saw that in some of the other ones. Is that in or out?
I think it's in my motion because it's not a mandate.
Right.
I think
Strongly
it
encouraged.
makes common sense that we are strongly urging our residents to wear masks. We're not demanding that our residents wear masks. I still am on the edge of, this is the United States of America. I don't want to get to that point. Now, if sadly a couple of weeks from now these numbers have spiked and we're in a whole new world, we might have to address that at the time. I know that in other counties, in Palm Beach counties, they really do require that anyone entering businesses, the general public, be wearing masks. My first step for this week is people that are employees wear masks. And then if you don't want to, like I said, the sign. I will strongly encourage all Martin County residents to wear the mask. If you're unsure that the data and the science is legitimate, do some research. It's very apparent if you were to go online and start researching that at the very least the mask would have some positive benefit in stopping the spread.
Thank you.
I agree completely, and I would second that motion. I've been struggling with this. Mr. Campy, I commend you on your very long description of it, but it was very thorough and very worthwhile.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with 99% of what you said. I wish we could have condensed it a little bit, but I appreciate that. The part I can't agree with, and I really struggle with this notion that we're going to make people put a sign on the front of their business. People are going to make a decision one way or the other to do or not to do. The strongly encouraged part, I think, is perfectly reasonable. Everybody I have talked to, both in the industry, the places I go, they're angry at restaurants that are not participating in the way that we would like them to be participating, and they're voicing that. I'm sure that their customer base is equally sort of concerned over the actions of some facilities, but by and large, I continue to say this, my Publix is a perfect, for instance, every single employee in my Publix wears a mask.
That's corporate policy.
Doesn't matter whether it's corporate or not, they're doing it.
Well, they have to.
Most of the restaurants that we go to are doing it and doing a great job, and they've separated their tables, and they continue to do it. And quite frankly, to the person that we know that either runs it or is always there, they are scared to death of the reaction from their customers or anybody else that may come down on them, that if they don't participate at some level of safety, that something bad is going to happen to them and probably moreover hurt their business. I would much rather, Ed, in your motion, if you're so inclined to do this, I got to put a note out in front of my building, I would rather it be 180 degrees the opposite direction. Put a sign out in front of your building that says we are doing everything that is required to meet all of the CDC guidelines, and we are requiring our staff to wear masks, and be proud of that and put that emblem on the front as if it is a Chamber of Commerce membership sticker or some other rating, whether it's a 4-star rating, dining rating, or the 4 Palms that the Hutchinson Shores has. I think us telling a business to put on their front door, we don't care about what the world thinks. I just think I can't support that. And I support everything else you said. I think that the whole strongly encourage and come back in a week and see how we're doing, I think is a great idea, and I think it is time that we do something. I can't support the idea of going to this, making people put a placard on front of their building.
I appreciate your comments, and I've given that a tremendous amount of thought as well. Someone had made that suggestion to me that a business could say, we are making our employees wear masks versus we're not. To me, the capitulation of, at this particular point, the reasonable desire to try to understand both positions. If there's a business owner that feels that they don't want to have their employees wear masks, those employees feel comfortable working there without a mask, and they have such a strong customer base that their customers will also not be concerned that they're wearing a mask, best of luck. Commissioner Hurd, I apologize, I didn't see your light again. Please continue.
Yeah, I'm not going to support the motion. I think it's a cop-out. It ignores science, it ignores scientists, and unfortunately, it prioritizes ideology over health, and I will never support that in my community. It's our sworn responsibility to protect our residents, and we know what the science is telling us. We know what the scientists are telling us. We need to take those measures that are going to best protect us.
Well, we have reached a very interesting point here, because now and first off, Commissioner Jenkins, I appreciate your second. Without having Commissioner Hetherington here for our full 5, a motion that is a tie is classified as a rejection of the motion. So with that in mind, this is a perfect example of the makeup of our board. On one side, we have someone who is looking to have very, very strong, and I understand her positioning, very strong, restrictive language to hit this.
Protective language, not restrictive, protective language.
Okay, to use Commissioner Hurd's word, protective language. She has been consistent in her positioning since the beginning. On the other side, and I understand and hear what Commissioner Smith is saying, I'm in neither of those camps, not at this point. I think when I use the word reasonable, and I'm going to get to you in one moment, Commissioner Smith, when we use the word reasonable, most people are moderate and they exist in the middle. If you are uncomfortable going into a situation where you're not sure someone's going to be wearing a mask or not, it's nice to have that information available to you at the door. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll offer up a substitute motion because I think, to your words, we need to do something today.
Well, before we do that, we have a motion and a second. Let's act on that, and then...
I can do a substitute motion, and that kind of, if it doesn't get a second, then we go back to your motion.
Very well.
So my substitute motion would be that we take the strongly encouraged language, which is in the last whereas clause on page 2, item 2, where it's the now therefore be it ordered as follows, the pink language, which is reflective in paragraph 1 and item number 2, the language that is also found in pink on page 3 at the top of the page, item number 5, and that would be my motion, and that if we are, if as a step in the right direction, if this is not seen with some moderation in terms of what's occurring, then I am perfectly prepared to go to a much more strict and mandated direction, but I would much rather start here and then move up in terms of the mandates. And that's my motion. Yes.
However, you're leaving out the part about the signage, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Jenkins, did you hear his motion?
The signage part is, I mean, if we're doing something substantive, that's it. We're encouraging businesses that may not be taking things serious to do things serious. And having a sign is, I'm not going to support Commissioner Smith's motion.
Thank you. I'm not as either. I think what's going to have to happen now is I will withdraw my motion. Oh, no, no, I won't. I will call the question. We have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins, for staff's pink language, including a sign be posted outside for businesses that do not want to participate in the strong urging of wearing masks for their staff. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed.
The motion fails because it's a tie. Ms. Woods, are you going to push that light? Okay. I would then request of staff to bring this issue back this Friday. Is Commissioner Hetherington going to be back on Friday?
Yes, sir, I've confirmed that with her. Yes, sir,
Thank you.
she will be.
So we'll have two advantages for Friday. One, our full board will be here, and two, we will have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, additional days to see which direction our county is heading. I'm disappointed that we ended this way, but I get it. Everyone is making logical, everyone's digging deep for their decision-making, and we're not there. I would have preferred 3 days of additional mask wearing, but we're not there. Ms. Woods?
I hit my light just so that we don't adjourn, because I made a statement to you earlier that was incorrect about the fair, so I want to
Okay, we
correct
are
that.
just about to adjourn for our lunch break, so please make your comment about
Yes,
the
sir. So, first, one to tell you, I was incorrect. If the board's action to extend the option for 4 years would give them 4 years to continue at the site. I was confused based on the separate vote. So my recommendation would be, because of what you clearly intended to do, would be to make a motion to reconsider the earlier vote. Assuming that passes, if the board wants the fair to move after 2021, then you should only extend the option for 1 year, which is, I think, what Commissioner Hurd had said, and that would be my recommendation, that that's what should be done.
Thank you very much.
No good deed goes unpunished.
For the clarity. Commissioner Smith?
I move that we reconsider the earlier vote.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Hetherington, to reconsider our earlier
No,
vote.
not Hetherington.
Hurd.
Hurd.
Oh, I apologize. Commissioner Hurd, to reconsider our previous vote on the fairgrounds lease. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed, the motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and this is probably not what Sarah wants to hear, Ms. Woods. My intention with all of this is to give the fairgrounds as much support and flexibility as possible for them to proceed into the future. I do not want to tie this extension to the fact that this would expire after a year. If the idea was to give them 4 years, then I would give them 4 years, and if that means that within that 4 years they would be allowed to continue to be at the fair for 2 more years and have the fair at the fairgrounds, so be it. I have always, my entire term in office, I have always approached it with the fairgrounds. When it works and it's right and it's the timing and everything is equal, it'll happen. And I don't want to be in the position at this point of putting them in a box that doesn't support them trying to accomplish what they're doing.
Can I offer you a suggestion?
Sure.
Can we make it 2 years? I think 4 years defeats the original purpose of motivating them to move out there. I've been working with them weekly, if not daily, on their efforts to move out there. They are working with Indiantown Utilities. They have already submitted tremendous amount of engineering and other paperwork that's necessary. I agree, I don't want to hamstring the fair, but I think 2 years is a legitimate amount of motivation for them to do it. I still think they'll be gone in 1, but I'm willing to buffer an extra year.
Okay, so Sarah, how would I word the motion in terms of if it were to be 2 years?
My recommendation would be, let me get my previous, the recommendation would be to give staff authorization to extend the current option till November 15th, 2022. That would give 2, and extend the submission of the final financial certification to September 16th, 2022, and to authorize the chair to sign the extension language as approved by my office. And then the second part of that motion would be to contingent upon the Fair Association receiving a excavation and fill permit for the subject property to grant the Fair Association a limited right of entry to do what the excavation and fill permit provides.
And that would also include land clearing? That would also include land clearing?
Yes, excavation and
Okay.
fill.
Well, I think
Yes,
of
sir.
excavation as digging
Oh,
and not,
yeah, I believe it includes the desired clearing that they
Wait,
talked
someone's
about
coming
doing.
to clarify. Please state your name for the record, ma'am.
Elizabeth Lenahan, Assistant County Attorney. Yes, it does, the excavation fill permit does include clearing.
great. That would be my motion then to include as outlined by Ms. Woods.
Thank you.
Second.
And Elizabeth, they're completely liable for any damage, anything that might occur on that property?
The right of entry agreement will contain liability provisions for them to take on that liability. Yes, ma'am.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept staff's revised recommended language, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Good. The motion
Thank
carries
you. I
4 to 0.
apologize for
That's
the
fine.
misunderstanding.
The motion carries 4 to 0 with Commissioner Hetherington absent. It is now 12:30. We're about a half an hour behind. I apologize. We will return after our lunch break at 2 p.m. Thank you.